Howdy. Welcome to the top 10 albums of Metallica. We're going to be taking a look at the Metallica discography, studio releases only. So no S&M, no live shit, binge and purge, just studio releases. Honestly, you can make a top 10, like a whole separate top 10 for their live albums just by themselves. But we're going to stick with the studio releases for right now. So let's not waste any more time and get into it. Kicking off number 10, we got Reload, released in 1997. Your top tracks are going to be Fuel, Low Man's Lyric, and Fixer, with 3 X's. This number 10 spot was a toss-up between Reload and 72 Seasons. Ultimately, I gave the edge to this 97 release. I just have more fun with the record, and the songs resonate more with me. Fuel dominated their set lists for decades. The Memory Remains is weird as fuck, but it still bangs. But seriously, Marianne Faithful as a feature is so bizarre, but indicative of the sound as Metallica was trying out new things, for better or worse. Now, while these songs are Metallica staples, it was the deep tracks that I fell in love with. Tracks such as Devil's Dance and Carpe Diem Baby are solid hard rock tunes, and tracks such as The Unforgiven 2 and Low Man's Lyric showcase a softer dynamic for the band. Low Man's Lyric, in particular, being a extremely beautiful song. Now, this album is not without its negatives. Some of the tracks on here they're not outright bad, but they just have no reason to exist. You got your Attitudes, your Bad Seeds, and especially Prince Charming. I can at least kind of remember some choruses and riffs for the other songs, but Prince Charming, I practically remember nothing of that track. Probably their most forgettable song in their entire discography. But Fixer, though? The closer, Fixer, with 3 X's, one of their best and underappreciated closers and songs. This is a tough song to sing vocally, if you can believe it, and they actually didn't play the song live until, I think, like a couple of years ago, something like that. Anyway, that was Reload, an album that usually gets shit on, but I have a soft spot for. Where would you place this record on your list? Would you place it higher or take it off entirely? Continuing with number 9, we have Hardwired to Self-Destruct, released in 2016. Your top tracks are going to be Atlas Rise, Moth into Flame, and Halo on Fire. Now, Hardwired is the tale of two albums for me. The first half, your first 6 songs are some of the greatest tracks they've ever put out. Atlas Rise, Moth into Flame, even the title track are some legit heavy hitters. However, this album goes downhill pretty quickly once we reach that second half. Tunes like Man Unkind, and especially the closer, Spit Out the Bone, are solid, but others like Murder One, Confusion, I just have no passion for those, so that definitely takes his album down a notch. Might have been a different story had Kurt not lost his phone. Lead guitarist Kirk Hammett infamously lost his phone, and he had a whole bunch of song ideas and riffs, so it's actually pretty impressive. This album is still pretty good considering a good chunk of it is missing. But you know what? Let's go back to that first half. The last song of the first half, at least according to Spotify, is a track called Halo on Fire. Dude, I used to be addicted to this song whenever I first heard it. The heavy-ass intro into those soft verses are pretty nice. Metallica are pretty good at that, but it's the outro that I fell in love with. That's the reason why I listened to the song. The lyrics, hello darkness, say goodbye, those refuse to leave my head for months, years maybe, after listening to this. I'm telling you, if you're gonna check out anything on this album, check this song out. That might be a hot take, but there's gonna be plenty of those, so don't worry about that. So that was Hardwired to Self-Destruct, coming in at 77 minutes. Where would this album place on your list? Would you place it higher, lower? Would you take it off entirely? Continuing with the list, we got number 8, Load, released in 1996. Your top tracks are going to be Bleeding Me, King Nothing and The Outlaw Torn. Listening to Load for the first time made me realize two things. One, Metallica can fucking write, no matter the genre. And two, people blew this album way out of proportion because this record kicks ass. I always maintain the notion that if literally any other band made this type of album, or even if this was somebody's like debut album, nobody would have a problem with it. Not one soul would have a problem with it. But that's just me. Let's get into this album. Let's figure out why I feel so, I guess, passionate about it. So, with that being said, not all of these songs are bangers, you know. That's just how it is. I'm looking at Poor Twisted Me and, like, no doubtably Mama Said. Look, Mama Said, as a country song, as a little twang tune, it's decent. It's pretty good. It's a very heartfelt song for James about his mom. But like, what the fuck is it doing on a Metallica record? They put that shit at like third from the last too, so it's like deep in there. It's a great song. Don't get me wrong, but just a weird decision to put it on the album. James didn't even want it on the album, but he was like convinced or something like that. But I digress. So not every song is going to be your favorite, of course. However, the songs that do fuck on this record, they fuck hard. King Nothing. Let's just start with King Nothing. One of their heavier riffs, and for Metallica, that's saying something. Just overall, a wonderful tune. And of course, we cannot forget the masterpiece that is Bleeding Me. I might be going out on a limb saying it's a masterpiece. It probably isn't, but just the story of the title, pretty sure it has to do with James battling his addiction, lead singer James Hetfield. Sorry, I'm going to be first naming these dudes all over the place, so bear with me. But yeah, Bleeding Me is just a fantastic song. It's like 8.5 minutes, which is light work for Metallica. But I love the song. Check out the S&M live performance of Bleeding Me. My favorite live performance of that song. And this might be a hot take, but S&M, the first one, that's James Hetfield's best vocal performance ever. You take that to the bank. So yeah, Bleeding Me, even the first two tracks, Ain't My Bitch and 2x4, great way to kick things off. But let's talk about how things end. That's right, I'm talking about the closer, The Outlaw Torn. Before 2023 and the invention of Enamorada, I don't think I'm pronouncing that right, but before 2023, The Outlaw Torn was their longest song at over 10 minutes. And trust me, it's worth every second. Funny enough, the length of the song was so troublesome that the band had to fade it out early, leaving about 30 seconds or so off the album, probably like a full minute, something like that. Thankfully, the full version is on streaming, so check it out. It's called The Outlaw Torn without manufacturing limitations or something like that. It's a mouthful. The ending alone is worth the trip. Once we get to that chromatic, like, ascending part, it's a rhythm guitar thing, and there's like a lead guitar. Just listen to the song. At least listen to the ending. If there's two songs that you just have to absolutely, well, three, because see how good this album is. Like, just check out The Outlaw Torn, check out Bleeding Me, or check out King Nothing. Either one of those tracks, I'm telling you, they're gonna take care of you. So that was Load, a very polarizing album. Where would it land on your list? Would you place it higher, lower, or take it off entirely? Kill 'Em All is number 7. Let's talk about it. So if your first instinct was, what the hell, 7? That's way too low. I'm telling you right now, you need to get that type of sentiment out early. If you're approaching this list thinking that I'm just going to be saying the same stuff that thousands of people have said over the past 30 or 40 years with this band, I'm telling you, I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy. So yeah, this is my Family Guy Godfather moment. I just do not care for Kill 'Em all that much. And if you saw where this was placed before I revised the list, oh, y'all would have been angry. Y'all would have been mad at me. I actually had to be convinced to bump this record up, mainly out of respect for, what it brought to the band, what it did for just thrash metal as a whole. I can't ignore that. So I had to bump it up a few spots. But yeah, Kill 'Em All, not my favorite album. I don't know if it's just the production of it. I don't like the production. The guitars sound great. The bass sounds fine. The drums sound the drums are, there's something else. You can barely hear the bass pedal. And, you know, Metallica and bass, that's just a whole other, we'll get to that, trust me. But you can barely hear the bass pedal, and it doesn't help that Lars didn't know how to play the drums whenever he was recording it. You can make the argument that Lars never learned how to play the drums. I'm kidding. But yeah, he was still learning how to play with this album. If you listen to a lot of the isolated drum tracks, you can tell. You can easily tell. But, you know, I want to do something different with this one because I usually write out a script, but I just want to go song by song. There's 10 songs, so I think that's a good number to talk about. So let's get into it. My name is TJ Stevens. This is going to be Kill 'Em All. So first off, we got Hit the Lights. Hit the Lights, it's a great song. It's a great song, and probably the first Metallica song ever written, and if not that, one of the first songs that anybody has ever heard from Metallica, because it's the first one off the record. I don't mind Kill 'Em All. It's a lot of these songs are a lot more fun for me to play than to actually listen to. So I don't mind Hit the Lights. The Four Horsemen, though, the next track, The Four Horsemen, brosive. I love me some Four Horsemen. The only part that pisses me off, though, is that whenever they play this song live, they never do the bridge part. And I think it's because somebody said that it sounded like too much like Sweet Home Alabama, which I can get, but they never played that part live up until, 2011, 2012, when they had their 30-year anniversary show. Then they finally played it. I believe Jeb Bush. Is it Jeb Bush? Hold on, let me check that. I got my laptop here. I'm like, not Jeb Bush. Oh my God. Jeb. The politician. Not him. No, not him. Hold on. Oh my God, I can't believe I forgot. It's gonna kill me. It was John Bush. John Bush. God, forgive me for for forgetting a John, man. Yeah, from Armored Saint. He actually did lead vocals for the band, so it was interesting seeing Metallica as a 5-piece, but with him they did the bridge and it sounded great. It's like one of my favorite parts of this album is that bridge. It's going to be a common theme, but yeah, Four Horsemen, definitely one of the best tracks. Motor Breath is interesting. Motor Breath because I don't really, like, I used to be so crazy about Motor Breath back in the day, but like recently it kind of fell off. When I went to go see them in 2017 though, they played Motor Breath and I was just like, oh shit, they brought this one out. So it's cool. I like it, but not going to be my top 15 favorite Metallica songs. Neither will Jump in the Fire be in the top 15. I'm sorry. Jump in the Fire does not do much for me. Bitchin' Track, just not the first one I'm going to put on from this record. Anesthesia, Pulling Teeth, Cliff Burton's first masterpiece. We'll call it that. So, you know, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to bump this album up. For respect for Cliff, because his work on this album is phenomenal. Pulling Teeth it's definitely going to be your number one example of that statement. His bass playing is just, it's phenomenal. Again, it's just phenomenal. And he really paved the way for future bassists that would end up joining Metallica. And it's a shame that we lost him so soon, but he made his time worth it for sure. And so Anesthesia, Pulling Teeth, if you wanted to like have an isolated bass track and see what he's all about, check out Anesthesia, Pulling Teeth. And then we got Dick Rash. Come on, man. That's just a bona fide classic. If you know, you know. I know it's not called that, but I love that song so much. It's actually much better live. Look up the 1989, 88 live performance of Whiplash. Brother, I'm telling you, you're going to be in for a good time. Phantom Lord, mid as fuck. Phantom Lord is mid as fuck until, again, we get to that bridge. And then it suddenly becomes a top 10 Metallica song. I love that bridge whenever it goes very clean. It's like, da-na, da-na, da-da-na. I love that part so much. It's the only part I ever learned on guitar from that song. But yeah, Phantom Lord's mid. until you get to that bridge. No Remorse. I don't give a fuck about No Remorse. Hot take. I'm sorry. I don't give a single solitary fuck about No Remorse or the closer, Metal Militia. Objectively, not their worst closer. We'll get to that. Trust me. We will get to that. But for me, my least favorite closer of all the Metallica albums, just off the dome. If I like go and search up, there might be another one. But yeah, I don't like Metal Militia. I definitely don't like No Remorse. The only time I like it is just like, or without it. Like, that's the only part I like. Seek and Destroy, though, the penultimate track before our closer, perfect. Perfect song, no notes. I love Seek and Destroy. It's one of their greatest songs ever. That's why they used to close with Seek and Destroy. I don't know if they still close with it, but they used to close it. And they had these big, giant, like, yoga balls popping out from the ceiling at one point. I remember that. I think James, like, kicked a ball into somebody. I can't remember, but yeah, those used to be dangerous back in the day. I had to look it up. It was Kirk. He kicked one of the balls into a kid's face. She went flying. I felt so bad. I forgot about that. Oh my god. And he realizes it like 2 seconds later. He's like, oh shit. Oh, poor little thing. Oh man. But she ended up okay, you know. It's not like a brick was thrown at her face like Home Alone. Oh my god, I felt so bad. But yeah, look at that video. It's an old video, so she's probably reminiscing about that right now. That'd be weird to say. Yeah, Kirk Hammett kicked a fucking yoga ball in my face while he was performing. A lot of people can say that, I guess. But yeah, that's my honest opinion about Kill 'Em All. And trust me, I tried to like love this album. I'm on Wikipedia right now, and like I'm seeing 5 stars, 4.5, 9 out of 10. Somebody gave it 3 stars. That's my type of person. I'm kidding. Kerrang gave it 5 stars. Metal Forces 10. Pitchfork gave it an 8.6. If you know anything about Pitchfork, those bastards don't like anything. So 8.6 out of 10. I'm just like, man, I wish I could appreciate this album as much as I should, but I didn't start listening, like really getting into Metallica until I was like 13, 14 maybe. By that time, we're talking like 2008, 2009. So I definitely wasn't hip to Kill 'Em All at that point. And then whenever I finally got it, I still was just like, yeah, I do not care for The Godfather. That's just how I feel about it. I'm sorry. So that was Kill 'Em All. I'm sure this is going to be a very polarizing review, so go ahead and let me know where it would place on your list. Would you place it higher, lower, or take it off entirely? Continuing with number 6, we have And Justice for All, released in 1988. Your top tracks are going to be And Justice for All, One, and To Live Is To Die. So Justice was my favorite album whenever I was growing up. When I first started getting into Metallica, really loved the complexity and the messages that this album brings. A lot of themes about rebellion, a lot of themes about just what the government is fucking up, a lot of themes about going against war. A lot of these talking points that James Hetfield writes about with these songs, you can easily translate those lyrics for today's world. It's cool for James' perspective because he was so forward thinking, but it's also kind of sucks because this same shit still keeps on happening. I digress. So this album is not perfect, and you know why it's not perfect, but let's go ahead and get into it. My name is TJ Stevens. This is And Justice for All. An important thing to note about this record is that longtime bassist Cliff Burton had passed away 2 years before the making of this record, which gives us new bassist Jason Newsted. Jason Newsted, you can have an own video for Jason just by himself. I love Jason Newsted, everything that he brought to the table with Metallica, especially his backup vocals. You don't hear that on the album. You'll never hear that on the album, but live, the dude was untouchable. But with Jason, and since he was the new bassist, Metallica, they weren't too kind for him. I think that after Cliff died, they probably waited 3 days, before they started auditioning for bass players, which just like, what the fuck? Don't do that. But Jason came in a very unfavorable situation with the rest of the guys just hazing him. Whether it's because, they were young and just they needed to get some frustration out because they just lost their best friend or what, completely inexcusable. And one of the, I guess, hazing things, one of the hazing rituals that they did was they completely neutered the bass frequencies on this album. Practically non-existent. There's a remastered version on Spotify, but I swear every time I hear it, maybe I just need better headphones, but when I hear this, the bass is still not as audible as I would like it to be. Like, is the remaster in the room with us? Put it back on the shelf. I'm not buying it. So what I like to do is watch this video called Injustice for Jason. I think it's something by Studio, because there's a lot of Injustice for Jason. What it basically is that it takes all the songs from this album and it turns up the bass. Some of them do it way too much, some of them not enough, but look up Brain Rock Studio and Justice for Jason and you'll see what this album could have been. And honestly, had that been the case, had this album been like that from the start, we're easily talking top 3, guaranteed top 4 albums for this band. But as it stands, how it was released, I just gotta go with what we got sonic-wise. Or sonically. Sonic-wise, yeah, fucking hedgehog. So, with that being said, what does Jason do on his first day? He helps write our opener, Blackened. Holy shit, what a way to kick things off. So, Blackened is a great opener. It could be heavily argued that it's their best opener, but there's a lot of contention for that. We'll get to that. But Blackened is one of their hardest songs, one of their most intricate. It's a bitch to play on the drums. It's a even bigger bitch to play on guitar. It's so challenging. It's about the earth like just blowing up on all this fire and smoke, and the ash leaves the world blackened pretty much. So after that, we have Injustice for All, the title track, coming in at a whopping 9 minutes, 46 seconds. Not even the longest song on this record. So the title track, the opening riff, the opening clean guitar riff it's beautiful. It's very beautiful. One of my favorite riffs to play, just doodling with a guitar in my free time. The themes has to do with Lady Liberty, Lady Justice, I think it is, one of those two. But, the cover art that you see right in front of you, how she's just being, gagged and bound by these ropes, and you see the scales of justice tipping over, and like nothing's equal, everything's unfair, this shit sucks. And in the chorus, whenever James says, justice is lost, justice is raped, justice is done. I mean, that says it pretty much right there. Not much more I can add to that. Funny enough, Kirk Hammett has a writing credit on this song, which I think it's weird that they do that with Kirk Hammett on Wikipedia, because he writes his own solos, right? That's a writing credit now. I guess they just mean for the overall structure of the song. I don't know. But Injustice for All, it's a long track. It's worth every second, though. Then you got Eye of the Beholder. This album is a damn near perfect no-skip album if it wasn't for Eye of the Beholder. I like Eye of the Beholder. I can rock with it. I just don't care much for it. I like the drums, I like the rhythm, just with the guitars and how the vocals fit into that, but I'm not dying to hear it. I'm not dying to hear it like I would die to hear Injustice for All. Something like that. But speaking of dying to hear, after that, we have the fourth track, One. What can I say about One? I believe this was their first music video ever, and ever since then, apparently Metallica are sellouts, because they do music videos, because they hadn't done one for 4 years or 3, 4, 5 years before that. But they do one video, they're sellouts. It's just how it is. One is probably a perfect song, if I'm being honest. I mean, you have your clean parts, you have beauty, then you have those hard rock parts, you have that aggression and the progression, just how the song make up of itself, the sextuplets, those parts. Just, we're talking about stuff that people are still using today. Those rhythms are still being used today. They might have been used before. I want to say that I listened to one song that had those kind of sextuplets type things, but nothing on this scale. I mean, we're talking like just revolutionizing music and how we're approaching it, even 30, 40 years later. It's amazing. It's a great song. Also, speaking of solos, the solo on one, probably my favorite solo ever. I would say it's the best solo, but I would have to listen to all solos. But as it stands right now, just off the dome, one has my favorite solo of all time. Props to Mr. Kirk Hammett for that one. After that, we have Shortest Straw. I fuck with Shortest Straw. I fuck with Shortest Straw a lot. And let's combine that with Harvester of Sorrow, because they kind of accomplish the same goal for me. One is fast and dark, and one is slow and dark. I love the just overall atmosphere that Harvester of Sorrow brings with that clean guitar that's mixed in with the distortion. I believe it's about like domestic violence or something like that, drug abuse. This is a very dark album when it comes to the themes of these songs. I believe that's why I resonate with it so much, or at least back whenever I was an angsty kid. But Shortest Straw is cool. I love the drums. There's a funny YouTube video you gotta look up about Lars trying to relearn this song while they were doing Guitar Hero Metallica. He couldn't fucking do it. And even when he finally got it down, he still half-assed it. Lars Ulrich, please, never change. Never change. So, Shortest Straw, Harvester of Sorrow, they accomplish the same goal, and it's really cool that they're back-to-back with each other, because they do a lot for me very similarly. With Harvester of Sorrow, there's a part like right after the solo or the breakdown where it stops, and then James comes in with the vocals first, and then the song kicks in, and I like that. I like that a lot. They extend that whenever they play it live, and it's fucking cool. All right. After that, we had the Frayed Ends of Sanity. Believe it or not, it took them like 25 years to play this song live for good reason. It's probably like, as terms of just learning a song and having to play the motherfucker, this is the hardest song, with that type of, with those type of rules. Blackened is fast, and it just kicks your ass, but the Frayed Ends of Sanity, it kicks your ass, but it makes you think about the ass kicking that's happening to you. It's just like, why does this hurt so much? It hurts your brain, and it hurts your stamina. I love this song. I love this song, and it's just about this guy just going and say the Frayed Ends of Sanity, like right before you go crazy. Old habits reappear, fighting the fear of fear. Those lyrics just always stayed in my head, and I like it, and at the same time, it makes me kind of afraid to talk about that, to think about those type of things. It's just a fantastic song, so check that out. Honestly, whenever I was doing the top tracks, you can put any of these songs, minus Eye of the Beholder for me, personally, you can put any of these tracks for top 3. But the ones that I picked, especially the one that we're going to talk about next, at least the one that comes up next, I'm going to save that for last. We're going to talk about that last. So for right now, we're going to talk about our closer, Dyer's Eve. Dyer's Eve is a great closer. It's kind of a mimic on Damage Inc., how that one closed for another album that we will talk about later. Spoilers. But the Dyer's Eve, it's Blackened. I keep on going back to Blackened because it's so fast, and it's the first thing that you hear. But then you get to Dyer's Eve, and what you thought was fast before, it amplifies that. Speaking on the drums specifically, because during the verses, Lars is pretty much doing double bass the entire time. That's why Lars is so fucking polarizing, because you see him play these days, or like the past 20 years, he kind of adopted this style and never grew out of it. And you're just like, wow, he has to be the worst drummer in the world. And then you hear this fucking album, and it's like, there's no way. There was a point in time, whether it was 1988 or 1989, for a very short span, but it still happened, Lars Ulrich was the best drummer in the world. I believe that wholeheartedly. This album is proof of that, because he really locked in and studied his craft and wanted to just shove it in everybody's face. And Dyer's Eve is just, all right, I'm just going to keep on going. I'm not going to stop. Quit running type shit. But Dyer's Eve is, man. And if that wasn't enough, just the lyrics of the song, is great too. I'm gonna keep on talking about the lyrics with this album, how they resonate. Clip my wings before I learned to fly, unspoiled, unbroken. I've outgrown that fucking lullaby. James doesn't cuss a lot in his songs, studio-wise. He cusses like a gosh darn sailor live, but studio, he's very like reserved when it comes to cussing, and I love that about him, because whenever you do hear a fuck, a shit, a bitch, or something like that, it resonates more. That's how cuss words are supposed to be used, to really enhance a motherfucking sentence, you know? See how it wasn't the same when I just said it right now? Because I like to cuss. But with James, you know, whenever he took his pen seriously, it just never was a thing that he did often. So I really like it that he brought it out on this song, and it resonated with me. So that was our closer, Dyer's Eve. Great way to close out the album. Our penultimate track is our instrumental. Metallica, not so much these days, but way back, you know, when they first started, they loved to put an instrumental on their albums, and this is the instrumental for Injustice for All, To Live Is to Die. You know, if I made a top 10 Metallica songs, this is top 2, top 3, guaranteed. I love this song. It's technically not an instrumental. You hear some lyrics, or spoken word, I should say, during the, I don't even know which parts, because this is such a, this is a loaded song, man. Oh my goodness. Just the way it starts with that beautiful acoustic guitar, and then it kicks in with that crunch, with that distortion, just masterfully done. Absolutely masterfully done. And it was actually the last song, or one of the last songs, that Cliff Burton was working on before he sadly passed. Metallica took that and they ran with it, and I could not be more happier with the result. I want to say around the 4 or 5 minute mark. I can't remember exactly, but the entire thing just builds and builds and builds. You get all this heaviness, and then it just drops and it stops, and you get the most beautiful guitar line just like ever, and then you have these soothing, it sounds like strings, I'm pretty sure it's just guitar and they're like having a delay effect or something. My word, is that one of my favorite guitar pieces of all time. It used to be my ringtone for the longest time, and I had to take it off because it was ruining it. I heard it every single time I heard a phone call, and back in the day I got like a whole bunch of robocalls. It was a big deal, but it still doesn't diminish anything. I freaking love that part. And I mentioned earlier how this technically isn't an instrumental. It's an instrumental. Come on, it's a fucking instrumental. But it's not an instrumental technically, because we do have spoken word that Cliff wrote, that James is, I think it's James, it could be somebody else, but I'm pretty sure it's James. James is speaking, and it goes as follows. When a man lies, he murders some part of the world. These are the pale deaths which men miscall their lives. All this I cannot bear to witness any longer. Cannot this kingdom of salvation take me home? Profound words, especially, especially when you consider those were some of the final words that he wrote down on a piece of paper. And I can't say enough good things about To Live Today. Honestly, I can make a whole 10-minute video just dissecting this song alone, but easily my favorite instrumental from Metallica and one of my top favorite songs. I can't say enough about it. So that was Injustice for All, a very complicated album, a very, there's a lot of potential with this album. I love the skeleton of this record. I love the makeup of the songs, but sonically, production-wise, still missing a lot of meat for the bones of this skeleton. Doesn't take away from it too much, because I still adore this record a lot, and especially some select songs I adored like to my heart, but it's always going to be the case of what could have been. And had Cliff not passed, or had James, Lars, and Kirk, mainly just James and Lars, because they were head of production, had they just had a clearer mind, or just fucking respected their bandmate at the time, not too hard to do that, I think this could have been so much better. But as it stands, still a great album, And let me know where it would place on your list. Would it be higher, lower, or would you take it off entirely? Continuing with number 5, we have Metallica, released in 1991. Your top tracks are going to be Sad But True, The Unforgiven, and Through the Never. Using its government name here, the album is called Metallica. It's a self-titled, but us cool kids, we call it the Black Album. Of course, the Black Album. We're dealing with the big boys here. And the biggest reason why this album falls into the top 5, it's not just because of the songs that are on here. It's not just because of what this album did for heavy metal or what this album did for the band themselves. Launched them into a whole different stratosphere. That's all well and good. But what really gets my jimmies going is the production. Producer Bob Rock, he was on his A game, and he was going to stop at nothing to make sure that Metallica was on their A game as well. And I believe that the proof is in the pudding. This is a damn good album, one of the most legendary albums of all time. Whether or not you agree with the songs, like the different direction they went with it, we'll get into all that. Not going to change the fact that this is one of the most legendary albums to ever hit our ears. So let's not waste any more time and get into it. My name is TJ Stevens. This is the Black Album. So honestly, like, what do you want me to say about the opener to this album, Enter Sandman? I can go like on and on all day for 10 hours talking about this song. I will not tell you a single thing that you don't know about this song. This is Metallica's biggest song ever. Whether you like it or not, doesn't matter. It's their biggest song. Now, for me, Enter Sandman, I can live without it. Take it or leave it. Like I said, I've heard it so many times with this fucking song. Anytime, like, a biker comes up to you and you can hear their radio, 50% chance that they're going to be playing this song. Funny enough, Kirk Hammett has another writing credit on this one. He came up with the main riff that you hear on the verses, and it was Lars Ulrich that kind of changed the arrangements of that riff to make it as iconic as it is today. I'll tell you what, whatever Lars lacks in drumming ability, he more than makes up for it with his songwriting ability. Like, a lot of these songs don't have that type of personality if Lars doesn't intervene, so you can always thank him for that. Enter Sandman, the music video is cool. Check out the music video. I like the themes of it all, dealing with nightmares and whatnot, but just as a song, heard it too many times. It's a great song. I'd rather play it live, but hey, it's Enter Sandman. You already know about it, so let's continue. Next, we got Sad But True. I was mentioning, we'll talk about the production, how this band went in a different style. Well, we were going balls to the walls with the first 4 albums, just like so fast, so heavy, and so Metallica really wanted to rein that speed in a little bit, but still keep the weight of the songs. Sad But True is a perfect example about that. And that's where Bob Rock comes into play, because his production, his knowledge is what gives this album the girth that it has. And this song contains about 60% of said girth. It's a fucking heavy tune. It's probably my favorite track. I think it's in like D standard or something like that. They tuned down for this song, and the effects that it has, it can't be replicated. But this is a time where you had to play it right the first time, and the fact that Metallica was willing to slow things down to try to accomplish what they wanted to do with this record is pretty impressive, because a lot of musicians will tell you that it's not going fast. That's the hard part. It's slowing down and trying to stay on time, especially for drummers. Once you have to like slow yourself down and keep a slow pace throughout, that's when things get challenging. And Sad But True, it's, I wouldn't say it's slow, I wouldn't say it's plodding, but like, you're stomping to that motherfucker. It's like a giant walking. You're not taking a lot of steps, but you're getting pretty far. You know what I mean? I love Sad But True. It's one of my favorite songs. After that, we have Holier Than Thou. I don't really care about Holier Than Thou. I can take it or leave it. But funny enough, this is the song that like James and Bob Rock, they were like really heavy on this one. They wanted this song to open up the album. They wanted this song to be the lead single for this album. And again, Lars is the one that stepped in. It's like, no. Like, we have Enter Sandman. That's the one. So I don't imagine things would be too much different for the band had Holier Than Thou been the the number one single. I'm sure we still would have gotten Sandman eventually, but it definitely would have changed things a little bit. So again, thank Lars for that. But Holier Than Thou as an actual song, it's not my favorite. One of my favorites, though, is the next track, The Unforgiven. Good Lord, man, The Unforgiven. I probably listened to this song like, 15 times straight in my early teens, something like that. Once I discovered just the dynamics that Metallica can work with, and these hard choruses, soft verses, or vice versa. What they used to do before was they'd have these soft verses and go into heavy choruses. The band wanted to switch that and make hard verses, soft choruses, or vice versa. I know I'm getting them mixed up, but you know what I mean. And with The Unforgiven, you have those very intense verses, those aggressive verses about talking about a man who's seeking forgiveness, but his past actions won't allow that, and more importantly, himself won't allow the forgiveness to be accepted. But then you get to the chorus, though, what I felt, what I've done, how soft it gets, and it's pretty. It's so fucking pretty. And, Bob's just really good at taking these specific harmonies that James wasn't messing with before and really amplified them. You have a whole new personality for not just this song, but the rest of the songs on the album. And I'd be remiss if I don't mention the fact that Bob Rock was he was driving a nail into Kirk Hammett to write a solo for this song, and it just wasn't working. Like, Kirk was having problems with it. They were at a standstill. And so Bob got into his face and he said, "Give me the fucking Guitar of the Year solo." And lo and behold, right there in the studio, Kirk delivers the solo that you hear on the record. It might have been modified a little bit or re-recorded, but pretty much what he played is what you hear. And it's one of the most legendary solos of all time, not just for Kirk, but just period. So The Unforgiven, hell of a track, easy top 10 Metallica songs ever. Wherever I May Roam is a tricky one for me. I kind of like go on the fences about Wherever I May Roam. I didn't like it too much when I was a kid, and I got a new appreciation for it. Now I'm just kind of like, whatever. So it's a 50-50 ball with me for Wherever I May Roam. I like the theme of the song. Where I lay my head is home. He's talking about tour life and, not ever being home. So wherever you're staying at that night, that is your home. So your home really doesn't exist. Somebody was talking about, I remember they have a documentary called A Year and a Half in the Life of Metallica. And some fan was being asked about Wherever I May Roam. And he's talking about how a dude is constantly roaming through like an empty earth trying to find himself, but he never has the answer. It's not what the song is about, but I love that interpretation. That's the beauty of music, is that you can interpret these songs however you want. Whatever it does for you is what it does for you. It doesn't matter what it's supposed to be about. Well, it doesn't always matter. Sometimes it matters. Sometimes you need that context. But hey, it's music. We're just having fun. Also, fun fact, the first note that you hear on Wherever I May Roam is coming from a 12-string bass. That little loud bang. Yeah. The first time I heard that information, I was like, I didn't even know they made them that high. So, always interesting to hear that. Speaking of having fun, we got Don't Tread on Me. Don't Tread on Me, it's a fun song, I suppose. What gets me so much is that they use something from West Side Story. I think it was something coming to America, something coming to America. Like, they use that main melody. They were on a kick. I forgot to mention in my Justice review that they used the they used that from Wizard of Oz. Like, what the fuck were they on? That they just wanted to take all these old melodies from these old movies and just put it in there. It works, but Don't Tread on Me, it's not going to be my favorite song. I'll listen to it, but it's all right. Through the Never, though. Through the Never, I believe it's the fastest song on this record, and they took away that speed. They kind of diminished going that fast, but with Through the Never, they cranked it up just a little bit, and I think that it's a good song. It's just fast enough that it still maintains the theme of the album, but it doesn't go too crazy. They actually ended up releasing, it was like a live album / movie with James DeHaan, I think his name is. Hold up, let me look that up. It was the guy that played the Green Goblin in the Amazing Spider-Man 2. Dane DeHaan, excuse me, Dane DeHaan. He played Trip. All the rest of them played themselves. So Through the Never is cool. It's cool enough to get its own movie, so it can't be that bad. I like the speed, I like the drums. It's just a banger. Not much more needs to be said. Coming up to our 8th track, we have Nothing Else Matters. So, I don't like ballads. I don't care what genre it is. I don't care if it's a hard rock ballad, a pop ballad. I just don't care about ballads. But I'd be lying to you if I said that Nothing Else Matters doesn't matter to me, because it definitely does. It was one of my old flames, like one of our songs back in the day, back in high school. My sister has a whole choreography to this song, and every time I listen to this song, I always think of her. Like I can't not. So even though like I can live without the song, I still can't help but crack a smile on my face when this track comes on, because I'm always just thinking about these good memories. Even learning how to play the fucking thing. It's so easy, because James was talking to his then girlfriend, might have been like his ex-wife at the time, I don't remember. He was talking to somebody on the phone, and he was just plucking the E, G, B, and high E string, and he was just fucking around. He only had one hand to work with, so not that first that first riff or first progression. That he was just bullshitting, and from that just came this whole song, this whole story. So it's pretty cool that music works like that. You know, you're just messing around, not even thinking about it, and you catch a spark, and all of a sudden that spark turns into this beautiful phoenix flame. I love it. So Nothing Else Matters. Hey man, it's not gonna be the first song I play, but if you want to listen to it, I'm glad to listen to it with you. A Wolf Man is heavy as shit. Of Wolfen Man is heavy as shit. It's just about turning into a werewolf. Excuse me, I have a speech impediment. W's and R's are hell on my shit. But Of Wolfen Man, about a werewolf, shape shifting. That's pretty much what needs to be said, and the heaviness always matches it. The heaviness matches the theme with this song. You know, it's not gonna blow you away or anything, but it'll take care of you. It's a good tune. Excuse me. The God That Failed. So The God That Failed, you listen to it and you're like, the first thing you think of is, oh wow, bass. I didn't know they could do that. Thank Bob Rock for that. He was very deliberate in making sure that the low end of these frequencies were out there in the mix. No mistaking about it. It's one of the reasons why I love this album so much. If And Justice for All had this album's production, whoo-wee, it's a different story. But as it stands, it's not the case. I digress. So The God That Failed, dealing with James Hetfield grew up in a very religious family, like strictly religious. They didn't want him going to the hospitals, saying through the word of God, through the power of God, you can, this illness will be gone. And if it's your time to go, it's your time to go. So he had to deal with a lot of struggles within that field about having religion forced on him. And I want to say that, once his mom passed away, it's just like, okay, well, where was my God now? My God obviously failed. I don't think that's what this song is about, like specifically his mom, but it's in the ballpark of just when you have so much faith to something and that faith lets you down, what do I do now? So The God That Failed, it's perfect for that theme, and just the bass riff that happens in the song and what the guitars follow, man, is that heavy. I love that shit so much. The God That Failed, it would definitely be the number 4 track. If I had the top tracks, it's always 3. This would be the top 4. That's for sure. My Friend of Misery, another credit for bassist Jason Newsted. Keep stacking them up, big man. But My Friend of Misery kind of pisses me off. Kind of rustles my feathers just a little bit. I don't dislike the song. I actually really like the song. But Jason wrote this track with the intention that it was going to be an instrumental. And because Metallica had instrumentals on all their albums up to that point. But some plans changed. I don't know if it was James, Lars, Bob, I don't know, whatever. But they said, you know what? We'll just take that first riff and we'll just kind of go our own way with it. I don't like the lyrics, the vocals, they feel forced. They feel like they don't belong on this song. Had this just been a straight up instrumental track, especially with that bridge right before the solo, oh my god, had it just been that, this would have been so much better than what it is. And it's still a good song. I might not be a fan of the vocals just because they feel forced, but they don't sound bad. I just wish that it was a straight instrumental and we would have kept that theme going, but unfortunately, that was one of the changes that were made when dealing with this album. It's one of the main reasons that a lot of people say that Metallica sold out with this album, not just with taking things slower, but now we don't have any instrumentals because instrumentals aren't mainstream. What the hell? They're sellouts. But this is probably the best case to say because now there's like 5 singles on this album that have music videos. Yeah, they definitely sold out. I'd say they bought in. What else were they going to do? They were on that trajectory. They were going to become global or at least national at that point. So who could have foreseen how this band would have just taken off after this album released? But that's neither here nor there. I'm going off track. My Friend of Misery, decent track. Would have been a great track if it stayed in an instrumental like Jason planned. Excuse me. So coming up to our closer, The Struggle Within. A damn good closer. It's actually the second shortest song on the album, coming in at 3 minutes and 53 seconds. Second fastest on the album too, right behind Through the Never. I don't mind The Struggle Within. It's one of the most underrated Metallica tracks. Is it a great closer? I don't think so. I think there are some that are better, but just as a song itself, Struggle Within doesn't get nearly as much recognition as it does. I like the marching snare that you get. Makes you feel like you're going to war. I guess the struggle within is a war within yourself and trying to, figure all that, trying to rewire your brain and whatnot. But yeah, this is a slept-on song. And, it may not be a great closer, but it's a good way to close things out here. So that was the Black Album, coming in at 62 minutes, 31 seconds. Yeah. This album, sonically, or at least sonically, it does the most for me because of the production and just how impressive it is to know that this band really locked the fuck in for this album. We're going back to the days of like before Pro Tools and all that stuff. So if you were recording music, you had to get your shit down the first fucking time. Like whenever they say cut and edit, they had to cut that shit back in the day. Leaving it on the cutting room floor, people were leaving shit on the ground that just never saw the light of day. So the fact that this band spent 8 months recording this album showed how serious they were of just like taking their prowess to another level. Because Bob Rock saw them live and he said, "You have not made an album that replicates what you do live in the studio." And he wanted to challenge them on that. Bob Rock challenging every member of the band to just be better absolutely worked volumes. And you see the production on display with this album. The songs are legendary. These are some of their most well-known songs ever, especially with Enter Sandman. Like, come on. When the record has their most famous song, obviously it's going to have a few more brownie points to that. But the songs are great. The production is even better. And that, for me, is why the Black Album is going to be number 5 on our list. You let me know where this album places on yours. Would you place it higher, lower, or take it off entirely? Continuing with number 4, we have Death Magnetic, released in 2008. The top tracks are going to be That Was Just Your Life, The Unforgiven 3, and The Judas Kiss. Death Magnetic, in my personal opinion, the band's most underappreciated album. After what they released in 2003, I felt like they had something to prove with this record. It was really a return to basis, return to form for the band, and I believe they hit it out of the park with this album. All of these songs, except for two, could easily be top 3 tracks. I love this album so much, and I think that not enough people are talking about it, so let's discuss it today. My name is TJ Stevens. This is Death Magnetic. So a couple things to note before we start this album. One, the production. It was overcompressed as hell. I'll put up a picture, but you can see the sound waves and just how fucking fat and loud this thing was when it first released. I never minded it because back in the day I had such a hard time hearing songs. I had such crappy headphones. When you listen to Death Magnetic, you don't have that problem. It's always loud. It's probably the reason why I have hearing problems today. I'm sorry, what'd you say? But another thing I want to mention is the producer of this album. Everywhere I go, it always says Rick Rubin. Rick Rubin apparently produced this record. But if you look at the behind the scenes video, like the mini documentary of this thing, you don't ever fucking see Rick Rubin in the studio with the guys. You never see him. Maybe once or twice you'll actually see him. But the guy that usually does the heavy lifting, the one that's actually working the board, is American recording engineer Greg Fiedelman. He's the guy that you're going to be seeing working with, with the rest of the band. So I always thought that was so peculiar. You never see Rick Rubin in the actual process. At least not on tape. Maybe he was there behind the scenes. Maybe he didn't want to be on camera. I'm not sure, but that always stuck out as odd to me. But let's go ahead and get into it with our first track. That Was Just Your Life. A very slow intro to this song, and it really builds up well. It has like a heartbeat going on, and it's so cool, the themes about this album having to do with death, that we start the whole thing with a heartbeat. Fucking genius. That Was Just Your Life. Once it kicks in, man, is it a banger. It's fast, it's heavy, it's everything that you want out of Metallica. And my favorite thing are the vocals. Very, very quick vocals, very staccato-y, a little bit too quick. James kind of tries to fit in a few more words than necessary, but other than that, this is a great song. The chorus is hard as hell. I don't know how the hell James sings that chorus and plays the offbeat guitar line or the off-time guitar line. It's hard. It's very difficult, but James has always found a way around that. So That Was Just Your Life. Easy recommendation. The best way to start this album. Check it out. The next two songs, I'm going to combine them because they accomplish the same goal. But your next two songs are going to be The End of the Line and Broken, Beat, and Scarred. Two very heavy tracks that stop in the middle of their songs and they both go different directions. With The End of the Line, it's a very heavy tune. It's very progressive too. It kind of reminds me of Injustice, all the intricate parts that they try to fit into this song. But once everything calms down and you get to that slave becomes a master part, oh man, this whole album is filled with just these fast songs that slow down, that pretty much stop. And you have these beautiful, clean sections that I'm just such a big fan of. The End of the Line is one of those examples. The Broken, Beat, and Scarred, whenever it stops, it just gets more heavier. It has a sick-ass breakdown. Oh, I love that part. The songs as a whole, both of them, yeah, you can take it or leave it. I listen to these songs for those parts coming up. The rest of them, I can kind of live without. These are the only two songs on the album that I feel can kind of be interchangeable. You can take one out, leave them. It's just my opinion. But, once you get past the first three songs, the rest is just... Let's talk about it. But for right now, End of the Line, Broken, Beat, and Scarred, decent songs with amazing bridges. So that brings us to The Day That Never Comes. I guess it's a ballad or it's an epic. This is, I think Metallica was trying to channel one or just one of those big, thematic songs that have a soft beginning and it builds and builds and builds just like one did until it reaches its crescendo and then it just takes you to another place entirely. Once you get to the heavy section or the fast section of this song, it takes on a whole new identity all in itself, and I really like that. I remember back in the day whenever this album first came out, there's this guy named Muse Productions, I think. I used to watch him all the time, but he was shitting on this song so much, and that's when I realized, I was like, people just hate this band no matter what they do. I can't hate this song. I think once the band retires, you're going to hear a lot more people talk about The Day That Never Comes, because I do think it is that good, damn near a masterpiece. But that's just my opinion. It's definitely one of their more, triumphant songs. They accomplish a lot with this tune. I say check it out. After that, we have our fifth track, which is All Nightmare Long. I'd be at the club sometimes, and All Nightmare Long will come on, and I'll talk to a baddie. I'll be like, hey, you know this song was the theme to 2008 No Mercy? No, I'm kidding. It is the theme, which is fucking crazy. Why would you have an 8-minute long theme song for your pay-per-view? I digress. All Nightmare Long is great. It's great. It's kind of a tease, though, because if you look at what kind of inspired this song, you'll see that bassist Roberto Trujillo, he was just playing some flamenco acoustic guitar, and James is so quick. His ear is just so in tune with that stuff. He started picking apart riffs and everything, stuff that can be repeated and whatnot. But there were some riffs that they play that I wish stayed in the song. You hear what Robert was cooking at first, and then you hear the finished product, and it's just like, some parts got missed in translation. It doesn't kill the song, but man, it would have really enhanced it that much more. But All Nightmare Long is still a great track. They went to drop D for this song. Lars is going ballistic. He goes ballistic for this entire album. Lars really had something to prove with this record. He may not play all the parts live, but he made damn sure that, you know, each part stood out with his drumming. He does a lot of stuff on this song. Damn near the like the last 2 minutes or so is just all double bass. It's incredible. But All Nightmare Long, it will take care of you. It's just quite a lengthy one at over 8 minutes. And guess what? Third longest song of the album. Strap in. All right. Now we have Cyanide. Ooh, Cyanide. I forgot how much I love this song. I really do. And a fucking bitchin' thing that I discovered when looking at the comments. I don't know if this was intentional. Again, if it's not intentional, that's the best thing about music, is that this can be all interpreted however you want. But the opening song, the beat goes like this. Ba 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 bam 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 ba ba ba. If you translate that rhythm to Morse code, what the message will be SOS, help. Which, you know, with SOS and the history of this band, going back to the one music video, is such a badass tie-in that I really wish that it was intentional. I have a feeling it's not. But the fact that Cyanide has to deal, well, you know, the whole album has to deal with death and despair and all these dark themes, the fact that they are literally saying help with their music rhythm, it's just fucking crazy. I like it. I like it a lot. This song is great. Fun, bumpy ass verses. Robert is going crazy with the bass. Lars is complimenting that very well, and then you got the rest of the guys coming in. What really got my rocks off that I forgot, like totally forgot, was the clean parts. Whenever James says, say, is that rain or are they tears? Oh, I was washing bottles the other day, and that part came on dead ass. Had to repeat it like 4 or 5 times. Man, do I love that section when everything, and not everything doesn't come to a stop, actually. It is a clean section, but it's mixed in so well with all the heaviness that's surrounding you. It's just, you can't get enough of it. You wish they play it 3 times more than they actually do. Man, Cyanide, great track. I remember, like, to this day, for some reason, one of somebody that I used to go to high school with, this was her favorite Metallica song. I remember being so perplexed. And this was, 2011, 2012 that I asked her this. And she said, yeah, Cyanide. I fuck with Cyanide. I was like, okay. I fuck with Cyanide too. And I hope that you fuck with Cyanide as well. The song, not the not the chemical. After that, we have the third installment, and probably the last installment of the Unforgiven series. We have the Unforgiven 3. All right, what can I say about the Unforgiven 3? I think it's a masterpiece. And honestly, it's my favorite Unforgiven. Unforgiven 1 is the best Unforgiven, subjectively. I don't think there's any debate about it. But what this song does for me, oh, good Lord. He has this theme, this very aquatic theme, about set sailing to sea, but being blown off course. Those lyrics mean so much to me, is that you have these intentions, but sometimes, plans change, and you just kind of have to roll with the punches. But the main lyric that always sticks out with me is, How can I blame you when it's me that I can't forgive? Powerful words there. And it's cool that this, the Unforgiven 1 and 2 are really tied together because they share so many, what's the word? Oh, they share so many, it starts with, fuck. Oh man, it's gonna kill me. Motifs, thank you. They share similar motifs, the Unforgiven 1 and 2. The Unforgiven 3 splits off from that entirely. They have piano on the intro, have very, very clean verses. But once it does get heavy, it reminds me of the Unforgiven 1 with those dynamics. But James, I don't know, he just seems much more, much more exposed, for lack of a better term. I don't want to use the term exposed, but he seems very exposed with these lyrics and just the fact that he's opening up and really, letting his true self speak with this song. Another great thing about this song, holy shit, is the bridge. You're gonna hear me say that a lot. If the song's chorus doesn't get me in, you know damn sure the bridge will. But it has a very soft build, and these fucking guys are carpenters because they build up so well. But it just builds and builds and builds, and then whenever James, why can't I forgive this? Kirk Hammett comes in with a screeching ass solo. Feels like somebody is screaming at you once he comes into the song. And Kirk was on another level they all were. They were all just on their A game with this album. You can tell they had something to prove after the previous release. And one of the main reasons why I like this album so much is that everybody has a writing credit. Everybody worked on this song. And you look at the behind the scenes, you see every day. If it's not all four of the guys in the studio, it's, they're tag teaming it. They're triple threading it. They're always working on something. And I gotta admire that as a musician, just seeing all the cogs in the wheel turn and seeing what something starts as and what something ends up as. It's always beautiful to see. And anytime you see your favorite artist is really putting in the work to make sure that they're giving out something worth of substance, you can always appreciate that. And I deeply appreciate the Unforgiven 3. After that, we have the Judas Kiss. Not a lot of people talk about the Judas Kiss, but I'm saying you're missing out. You're missing out. I'm assuming it has to do with our old pal Judas. But you look at the lyrics whenever he's talking about how kings abuse their crowns near the end of this song. I think it's very fitting for today's world, unfortunately. But this whole song is just, it's a roller coaster. Look up the Judas Kiss riff, just James recording it in the studio, and see how fast he's going. Not only how fast he's going, but he's just like, he's locked in. He's in there. He's a professional. What do you expect? But the Judas Kiss has one of my favorite Metallica choruses. And whenever he says, bow down, sell your soul to me. Oh, man. Can't get enough of that. And just the whole makeup of the song is very heavy. It doesn't linger on too many parts for too long. It's always changing. You can say that a lot about these songs. They're constantly changing, constantly evolving into their next form until the song is over. But definitely check out Judas Kiss. It's one of my favorite songs on this album. Underrated song for an underrated album. So check it out. Our penultimate track, we have Suicide and Redemption. The first instrumental since, I think, Injustice, and their last instrumental to date, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure this is their last instrumental. Metallica, I want to say they have 5 instrumentals. This is their 5th best one. And that really sucks to say because this song fucking rules. The longest song on the record, of course, it had to be the instrumental, coming in at 9 minutes and 57 seconds, just 3 seconds short of 10 minutes there. And it's worth every single one, every single millisecond. This song is worth it. Fades in with some heaviness. Kind of reminds me of To Live Is To Die. Just the dynamics are switched a little bit. The main riff. It's so interesting how this band is able to convey emotion without saying a word. You hear all of these riffs and you see the journey that it takes you through. It's amazing. I'm always just dumbfounded by how this band or any musician can really portray an emotion just through the power of sound. such an awesome thing to do. And then again, once everything slows down and you get that clean solo, do 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 do. Ah, come on now, come on. How can you hate on that? The ending, it fades out. Unfortunately, I forgot to mention that on the Black Album, half the songs fade out. I fucking hate fade outs. I really hate fade outs because you're gonna have to write an ending to the song. It's not important. It's not important. I don't want to get worked up. The song does fade out. And I wish there was just a little bit more of a conclusive ending to this track, but as it stands, it's still a pretty good tune. I'm not going to say the worst instrumental, but it's just the least best, because this song is still worth your time, still worth the listen. Now we get to our closer, My Apocalypse. My Apocalypse, it's a great closer, especially for this album. But, you know, as far as where it falls in the lineage of Metallica songs, I can honestly take it or leave it. It's still fun to play. There's a part, like, right before the solo happens. There's a whole riff that whole riff is actually pretty creepy. But right before the solo kicks in, you get a sound effect that it sounds like a car is speeding off a cliff, right? Or, you know, it's about to crash or whatever. And Kurt comes in with that solo. He matches it very well. I like that part. But it's a very solid end to this album. Probably won't get many listens to this for My Apocalypse. I don't think that's going to be in anybody's top 10 Metallica songs. But I like it enough. And it's a decent closer for this album. So, that was Death Magnetic, coming in at a staggering 74 minutes and 54 seconds. So, I doubt that this album is going to be in a lot of people's top 5 when it comes to Metallica. But I'm saying, man, you just got to give it a listen. It ages beautifully. You know, all production mishaps and all that other stuff aside, I think this album ages beautifully. Just a matter of how long or how loud you would like to listen to these songs. But, man, I always give Death Magnetic the time of day. And even going back to whenever I was first making this list, I knew Death Magnetic was going to be high. I didn't think it was going to be number 4, and I was listening to it, and I was like, you know what, yeah, I can fuck with these songs a lot. Maybe it's because the album was released in September, and, you know, I'm a September baby, so maybe I have some correlation with that. Maybe it was because of the fact it was the theme of No Mercy 2008. I don't know. Or not the album, just All Nightmare Long. Can you imagine the whole album being a theme for a pay-per-view? Triple H would make that happen if he could. He would make that happen. But I'm telling y'all, man, listen to this album, take a deep dive, and if you're really interested, look on how they make these songs, look on how, you know, everybody really comes together as a team, as a band, to make sure that this is the best product that they can put out. And in 2008, I don't think they could have put out anything better. So Death Magnetic is going to be number 4 on this list. Let me know where it would place on yours. Would you place it higher, lower, or take it off entirely? Continuing with number 3, we have Saint Anger, released in 2003. Your top tracks are going to be Saint Anger, Invisible Kid, and The Unnamed Feeling. I know what you're thinking. Number 3 shouldn't be on the list at all. Hey, man, I can't lie to y'all. Not on purpose, anyway. I just can't. I love this album. Do I love everything about this album? Fuck no. But I love what this album can accomplish for me. It can calm me down. That's right. Saint Anger is a perfect album to listen to when you're fucking angry. It just works. At least it works for me. It always has. And this has been going for well over a decade. Anytime that I'm angry, anytime that I'm in a situation where I'm just stewing in my own rage, I throw this record on, and it's not a magic pill. It doesn't make everything all whimsical and 100% better, but you know what? It helps. And I am more than happy to tell you how this album helps me out. Let's not waste any more time. My name is TJ Stevens, and this is Saint Anger. Let's kick things off with our opener, Frantic. You know, it's funny, I used to not like Frantic for the longest time. I would literally skip this song and just go straight to the second track. But in recent years, I've found a new appreciation for this song. I've always appreciated the lyrics to this track as well. Everybody has a writing credit on the song. James, Lars, Kirk, and Bob Rock. Yes, longtime producer for Metallica. Jason left the band 2-3 years ago at that point. So Bob Rock had to fill in bass duties. But even he helped out a lot. As a producer, you just kind of throw things out here and there to help out your band. And one of the main lyrics that I really love in this song is birth is pain, life is pain, death is pain. It's all the same. Those words were provided by Kirk Hammett and it reflects on a core Buddhist tenet on the university of suffering. And man, that's just one of the many themes about this album. Suffering, anger, of course, rage, anxiety, hopelessness. There's a lot of negative emotions attached to this album, which is why I like the negative sounds that you end up hearing from a lot of things, a lot of instruments. We will definitely get into it. One of the instruments, of course, is the snare drum. If you don't like the snare drum, you're just not going to like the album. It's just that simple. I don't mind the snare drum. Not gonna lie, after listening to the entire album, it can get a little tiring, but it has to be there. Like, it has to be here for this record. For instance, check out Saint Anger, or Stanger, 2015. Yes, it's a whole YouTube channel where actually a group of people, rebuilt this album from the ground up. And they use a regular snare, right? It doesn't sound bad. It sounds so much better than the actual recording that we got, but there's just something missing. That snare drum adds a whole different dynamic, a whole new dynamic to this album that, unfortunately, I can't take away. I just like it too much. Whether or not it sounds good, it just doesn't matter to me. I listen to a lot of death metal, a lot of like deathcore, all that shit, just like smash music, and there are snares that sound, I'm not going to say worse, but they sound way more abrasive than this. But this one is unique. It's very unique in its presentation because Lars Ulrich, he turned off the wires on his snare to get that effect. But I'm telling you, as a drummer, it's not that simple. They had to do some extra shit because when you do that, you end up getting a more of a tom sound. And this sound, it's otherworldly, otherheldly, to coin a phrase, because it's that ugly, but I can appreciate the ugliness that resides in this record. Maybe it's just game recognizes game, I don't know, but I can't live without it. So all that to be said, Frantic, I don't even think I talked about the song talked about the song all that much. You know, it's a great way to open the album. It's actually a lot more tolerable than most songs. This seems to be a fan favorite. But for me, it took a very long time to appreciate it. But now that I've, kind of lived out more years and can understand a frantic lifestyle, these lyrics make all the sense in the world. This song makes all the sense in the world. So Frantic, great way to start the album. Moving on to track number 2, we have the title track, Saint Anger. I love Saint Anger. I never had a problem with this song. It didn't help the fact that this was the theme to SummerSlam 2003. So when I was a young teenager, I didn't listen to a lot of music, so I relied on WWE to kind of present these songs to me, and one of the songs was Saint Anger. I remember going through my dad's CDs. He had a plethora of CDs, just trying to find this one song. And lo and behold, I ended up finding it, but I realized decades later that Saint Anger was the first Metallica song that I sought out. Not the first song I ever heard. My dad was probably playing For Whom the Bell Tolls or some Seek and Destroy when I was a kid, but I didn't know those songs. I didn't know Metallica. At that point, in 2006, when I was trying to search for this song, I knew I was looking for Metallica. I just had to find that distinct sound, and I found it. I was very happy with it. But with Saint Anger, the actual title track, it's so goddamn heavy. And on the drums, man, I'm telling you, whenever you play these songs, whenever you play most of these songs, you're getting a workout in. And it's very therapeutic to get that type of outlet out. And Saint Anger is the perfect song to do that in. You know, I will forget a lot of passwords. I will forget so many names and faces, but there are lyrics that I will never forget. In this song resides the lyrics, I am madly in anger with you. Good Lord, powerful is not even the right word to describe it. It's, you know, obviously a play of I'm madly in love with you. No, I'm madly in anger with you. Whether James is talking about another person, the world, or even himself, I can't help but love those lyrics. Another thing that I can't help but love is the once we have a little break, it's probably at like the 4 minute mark or something like that. Once we have our bridge, this is a long ass song. All of these songs are long, but once we get to that break and it repeats that opening riff and they just start jamming the shit out of this, oh, baby, good Lord, I can't get enough of that. And you got James saying, I want to set my anger free. Just set it free, you know? We all have anger. I would say anger issues. A lot of people can handle that anger better than others. It's just life. So I think that it's very fitting to say, I want to set this anger free, because no matter how well you can handle it, a lot of us, they just want to stop having that rage. So listening to this song, it helps flush it out, for lack of a better term. So Saint Anger, it's always going to get a pass from me, especially those clean ass verses. Saint Anger, he never gets respect. Moving on to Some Kind of Monster. I like Some Kind of Monster. I really do. I actually think that it will grow more favorably as time goes on. I really like the bridge whenever James cuts out on his guitar and he just like goes in on the vocals whenever he says, this is the cloud that swallows trust. This is the black that uncollars us. This is the face that you hide from. This is the mask that comes undone. That's the thing about monsters that we kind of take for granted, is that a lot of them wear masks because they don't want to show their true face. Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, they either don't want to or they can't show their real face. So it's cool whenever you can, you know, have that mask off moment for your specific monster, and you can really give them the lowdown and give them what for. I love those lyrics. A lot of these lyrics I find very relatable and very therapeutic with this album. Some Kind of Monster. It's definitely a good example of that. Another good example of just like, we can talk about the drums all day. We can talk about the sound of the drums all day. If you want, I can do a whole separate video just tearing this album down. Because as much as I love it, I know the negatives about it, trust me. But Lars's performance on the actual kit is something else. He is going so fucking fast with these songs. He is going a million miles a second. And I love it. On Some Kind of Monster, once you get those like double time pre-choruses, you know that you're in for a good treat when it comes to the performances. So Some Kind of Monster, hey, I like it. After that, we have Dirty Window. When I first heard this song back in 2010, I was living in an apartment, a duplex actually, a townhome, one of those things. And to my left was a window, and I'm not gonna lie, there were some splotches on that window, a little bit of grime. It was a dirty window, right? Straight out of a cheesy movie. But how I interpret this song, I don't know if y'all have ever been to jail before, but there are no clocks and there's no windows. So you honestly can't tell what time of day it is. What type of day? Is it sunny? Is it raining? Is it dark? You can't tell. So that's how I interpret Dirty Window. It's like you're trapped in a house and you don't even have the common courtesy to know what time of day it is. One thing that's like interesting about Dirty Window is the abrasiveness of the snare. If you want an example of how interesting, for lack of a better word, how interesting this snare sounds, listen to Dirty Window. I promise you, if you can get through Dirty Window, the rest of the album is a breeze, kind of. But I actually covered Dirty Window on a EP of mine way back in the day. I like that song so much. It's one of the few songs they actually still play from this album. And they made some modifications. Kirk added a solo. Fun fact, there are no solos on this album. Yeah, no solos whatsoever. And I kind of go back and forth on whether or not I would like to have them, because when you listen to them play it now, the solo seems a little bit out of place. It doesn't sound bad, but it feels like it doesn't belong, probably because it doesn't belong. So whenever you hear these songs, I guess there's no solo to distract you from anything. Like, what you get is riffs and lyrics. I love that so much. Wouldn't hurt to have a lead line, here and there, just to give Kirk something to do, but he seems all right with it. He did a lot of work with this album, a lot of work with the band. We'll get into that a little bit later. But Dirty Window, if you, like I said, if you can get through that, they'll be fine. Up next, we have Invisible Kid. Invisible Kid is probably my favorite song off of this album. If not that, then it's one of the other top tracks for sure. But I love Invisible Kid, and for some reason, just something got into Hetfield's brain at this point, because he said, all right, I want to tune everything down. The entire album is in drop C, right? No shock there. But Invisible Kid, drop G flat, or drop G sharp, drop A flat, whichever one it is. Like, what the actual shit? At that point, just go E standard, but the octave down. I'm kidding. But yeah, drop G flat or whatever out of a fucking shitty amp. I love that tone. It's just raw. That's one thing I can give this album credit for. There's no polish at all. It's 100% Monday Night Raw, and this guitar tone is pretty evident of that. James said, there's a whole documentary, it's called Metallica, Some Kind of Monster. It's a whole documentary going from, I think it's like May 2001 all the way up to when the album gets released. And he says that the amp that he used to record out of was one of the first amps he ever owned. Now, it's fucking bullshit if that's the exact same amp, right? There's no way he carried that for 20, 25 years. But, it had to be a replica. Still, he's recording out of this amp, and I think it works wonders. The whole point about this album was that they wanted to make it sound like it was just four guys getting into a garage for the first time and just jamming shit out. It's just the fact that that band happened to be Metallica. Invisible Kid, there's a good example on why the drums aren't the only problem with this album. One thing that kind of gets overlooked is James's vocal performances. And I get it. He was going through a lot of shit, and a lot of things made sense at that time when they were recording it. But other parts sound just not good, just downright bad. Invisible Kid, unfortunately, has one of those sections in the bridge whenever he was talking about, like, ooh, what a quiet boy you are. It's like, listen, can you not do it like that, please? There are better ways to do that. It's the only downside of the song for me, but it more than makes up for itself near the end. The last 30 or 35 seconds, it's just one continuous breakdown. Lars is like accenting on the 2, 3s, and 4s, right, for 8, 16 bars, and then he switches to a regular beat, on the 2 and the 4. And then after a couple bars of that, he goes halftime. And the entire time that he's switching up that beat, the guitar is doing the same thing. It's doing like some holy shit. I love that. I am madly in love with that breakdown at the end. It's a lot to ask for. The song is 8.5 minutes, excuse me. 8.5 minutes, so I'm asking you to go through 8 minutes of some pretty good shit, or some pretty hard shit, to get to that last breakdown. But I'm telling you, fast forward to that part if you must. If you can't listen to those last 35 seconds and think that shit is heavy, I don't know what to tell you. But I'm kind of making a hard sell as it is right now. Invisible Kid, one of my favorite songs. It has a beautiful chorus. Vocal problems are there, but the chorus is not one of them. Whenever James is saying, I'm okay, just go away. Like I'm fine. Just please leave me alone. But then he ends up saying, but please don't stray too far. So yeah, leave me alone. Just don't leave me. You get what I'm saying? I like those lyrics quite a bit. I like this song quite a bit. If anybody wants to jam out this track with me, please let me know. I will do it in a heartbeat. The next two tracks we have are My World and Shoot Me Again. I'm going to combine those two. Kind of a common theme we have with these albums is always like two tracks that make a good tag team. My World and Shoot Me Again are this album's tag team. With My World is interesting because they were working on this song back in 2001. They bought this whole studio called the Presidio, recorded maybe like 5 half songs, and then James went to rehab, right? And they never go back to the Presidio ever again. They just abandon it, and they end up finding their new headquarters, Metallica HQ, and they've been there ever since. Don't tell me this album didn't do nothing for this band. But Shoot Me Again was one of those songs that they were working on in the Presidio, and it lasted all this time, so I gotta give it credit for that. Other than that fact, though, Shoot Me Again, it's alright. You can, or not Shoot Me Again, Shoot Me. My World. Did I say Shoot Me Again when I was talking about the Presidio? I meant My World. My World is the song that they had been holding on to for years at that point, and it's okay. I don't mind it. I fucking love the bridge lyrics whenever he says, God, it feels like it only rains on me. Simple lyrics, but his performance, James's performance on those vocals, just it's filled with despair. And you have no choice but to believe the words that he's saying. And then you get to the ending part, the ending, I guess, breakdown. I don't think it's a breakdown, but you get this really heavy section whenever it goes. I love it. Love it so much. It's funny. During the documentary, you hear Bob trying to work on the bass tone for that song. And he's like, it sounds a little bit too farty, whatever the sound that he was working with. And then you hear it on the album, and you're just like, still kind of sounds farty. What happened? But it's okay, because the guitars come in and it makes it worthwhile. Shoot Me Again is it's interesting. It's an interesting song. Probably the one that if I had to take one song off of this album, it would be Shoot Me Again, because I don't feel that strongly about it. But it's fun. The lyrics, all the shots I take, I spit back at you. Very, very profound, although it does make me think that James is catching bullets with his teeth and spitting it back, which is like, hey, that's pretty cool. But yeah, My World, Shoot Me Again, decent songs, but nothing that will blow your mind. Sweet Amber. Our next track is Sweet Amber. I was actually talking to a girl named Amber when I first discovered this song. I always thought that was interesting and probably a bad omen, if I do say so myself. Sweet Amber has kind of like a southern gothic rock type of feel whenever it starts off with those clean guitars. I don't know, there's something ominous about that intro, and then whenever it kicks in, you kind of get a more consistent sound, as consistent as you can get with this album. The band was kind of pressured to do this radio sale or like sweepstakes, something like that, and they were forced to say all this stupid shit on the radio, and like the people they were working with were saying, hey, if you don't do this for us, we're going to try to trash this album. You won't have a prayer in the world. So James made up the lyric at that point. He said, I'll wash my back, or I'll wash your back so you don't stab mine. Fucking great. Just the way that he was able to pull that out of thin air. The bridge is awesome. Lars is going back to those sextuplets, but it's continuous. It's like one, but just in a different feel. So I don't mind that. And whenever we get to that part, these lyrics right here, man, she holds the pen that spells the end. She traces me and draws me in. Come on. How can you not be a fan of that? Like, honestly, how can you not be a fan of that? It's one of my favorite lyrics in just an album filled with great words that I can just take and use in my life and find some relatability to. It's just more on the pile. The rich get richer. So Sweet Amber, it's a track that I think I underappreciate. Now that I'm talking about it, I think I underappreciate Sweet Amber a little bit. One song that I definitely appreciate to its fullest value is the 9th track, The Unnamed Feeling. Anxiety personified. I am not joking. This song will make you feel like you are having a panic attack. The unnamed feeling to me is that emptiness you feel in your gut. Whether you think that someone is being unfaithful, you have friends talking behind your back, you feel like you're getting set up, but you can't quite prove it. And you're going to have to do a little bit of work to prove it, but you're nervous as shit to do it. It's like you know the answer, but you're terrified to find it out. That's the unnamed feeling for me. And one thing that I mentioned before in the previous albums, James is very, very reluctant to cuss with his writing. This album is filled with fucks, shits, you name it. It's filled with a lot of swear words. And it works. It totally works to try to get that anger out. It's so hard to contain yourself and not to cuss when you're in an argument with somebody because you get worked up. So the fact that you have these songs to say those words for you, I love it. The unnamed feeling, oh god. Okay, we'll get to that in a second, but just the unnamed feeling as a song. I was talking about it's anxiety personified because it mixes so much sounds. It mixes clean guitars with distortions. Even the snare drum is brought down considerably, and you hear more of the cymbals than you actually hear the snare drum, which is interesting. But whenever you get to those choruses, when James is talking about the unnamed feeling and he's matching those guitar lines, those clean guitar lines, man, I just think it sounds beautiful. I think it sounds beautiful, but then we get to that bridge and he is going off saying, "Get the fuck out of my head. I just want to get the fuck away from me." From me. That's the the big pointer of that sentence is I want to get away from me. I know that I'm the problem, right? I know that I have issues and I'm trying to resolve them, but I need to get away from myself. Only problem is you can't do that. It's impossible. You can't get away from yourself. You're carrying these feelings with you everywhere you go. Even when you're asleep, you'll have nightmares about it. It's so unfortunate, but you have songs like these to help you get through those tough times, those times of just pure uncertainty and dread. I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where you've just been pacing around the house because you're just so fucking worried about something. You feel like your life is falling apart. The fact that this song can replicate that feeling is, one, it's horrifying, but two, it's so goddamn beautiful. It's a stark beauty, a very ugly beautiful, but man, I'm all about ugly beautiful. Unnamed feeling, it's gonna take care of you. Might fuck you up a little bit in the process though. I'm telling you though, the pain is worth it. Speaking of pain, we get our penultimate track, Purify. Now listen, if you told me that Purified is Metallica's worst song, I'm not going to argue with you. I am not going to argue with you. It easily has the worst chorus. Easy. It has the worst chorus. But I still enjoy this song a lot because of the drums. Yeah, believe it or not, the drums make this song for me. As I mentioned before, Lars is going ballistic. And what this band did with deluxe versions of this album, they ended up doing a live rehearsal in their studio. Matter of fact, 3 or 4 songs off of this album, that's the only time they've ever played it live. So if you want to hear it live, that's the only place you can go to. Purify, I'm pretty sure, is one of those songs that they never played live in front of an audience. But look up that performance and you will see Lars obliterate his hi-hat. He's going so goddamn quick, it's not even funny. And I remember trying to learn that part on drums whenever I was first getting into this album. I was like, what the fuck was he on? Jesus, lay off the coke, man. He probably didn't do coke. I apologize. But lay off whatever the fuck you are on. Please, just calm down. I don't mind it. Besides the choruses, I kind of have to fight through those choruses to get to the parts that I actually enjoy. Whether it's those heavy ba-bam, 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 ba-bam. A lot of stuff works for this song, except for that part. The ending is kind of janky too. It feels like that ending, they just had to create something, so they just kind of put that at the tail end there. But for me, I'm always going to enjoy this song because of how much of a workout those drums are. Hey, I can't help it. It's just how I feel. But Purify, I don't think I can recommend it with best intentions. But if you're interested, look it up. Especially if you're a drummer trying to look for a pretty fast song. Yeah, Purify, it'll give you a workout. Coming up to our closer. All Within My Hands. The only way you can close out an album like this is with a song like All Within My Hands. James, he's a very controlling person, or at least he was a very controlling person. It's one of the reasons why Jason left. Jason wanted to do other projects while with Metallica. James said no. He said, if you're going to be Metallica, you got to be all in. And so his problem is that it's like Lenny from Of Mice and Men, right? You love so much that you hold these people so near and dear to your heart that you end up strangling them. And that's not good. Too much of a good thing is always bad. Too much of a bad thing is never good. You can have too much water. You will drown. So that's what this song is all about. In the chorus, he's talking about love is control. I will die if I let go. Do you understand? You understand that those words right there is like, I love you so much, but I can't control my feelings for it without negativity spouting out. And it's just so unfortunate because I find a lot of relatability. And whenever you have that situation to where you need to be in control of not just your life, but somebody else's life, you will tell yourself it's all in good intent. It's with great intentions. I'm just trying to make sure you're okay. I'm just trying to make sure that nothing's happened to you. Where are you? How are you? What are you doing today? What are you doing tomorrow? That's not healthy. It's not good. And the fact that James was able to put that into song form with this track, I think is beautiful. The actual track itself, like sonically, it's it's pretty messy. It's pretty messy. I enjoy it, but I can understand that if you listen to this song, you're just like, what the fuck am I listening to? Yeah, I totally get it because it's a fucking mess. And I think that's the only way that you can end this album, this messy mess of an album. Stupid, sorry. That was a very stupid thing to say. But like this fucking album, you can only end it this way. And the last lyrics that you hear on this album is James saying kill 38 fucking times. I counted 38 times. He just says kill over and over again. I guess he can either be talking about killing the person that you love so much because you are strangling them, or he wants to kill the person that is strangling the ones that he loves. But either way, he says it so much that kill starts to lose its meaning. It stops becoming a word. You look at the lyrics. You actually look at the physical lyrics and just kill a bunch of times. It's like, okay, I get it. Kill. But after he says that, you get this putrid chord, this absolutely ugly ass chord that is played, and that's how the album ends. And I'm just like, of course it has to end that way. I love it. I love this as a closer. They ended up reworking this song. It's like an acoustic song now. They did it for S&M 2 and a few like acoustic performances. I think there was one in like 2007 that they ended up doing. But All Within My Hands is taking on a whole new meaning. There's like a charity called the All Within My Hands Foundation. Like they found a whole new way to work this song into their lives. And hey, I can't help but commend them for it. But as it was in 2003, wow. Wow, it's a trip. So it's a trip that I enjoy taking all the time. And like I said before, there's no better way to end an album like this. All right. That was Saint Anger coming in at a diabolical 75 minutes and 1 second. Why do I like this album so much? I can tell you all the time that it helps me. This album helps me, and I love a lot of ugliness that happens with this record. I like a lot of beauty that happens in the set list. There is still some positives to take out. I love the album cover. Honestly, it might be my favorite Metallica album cover. Just that red ass fist, that arm being, bound, and you see that effect that conveys anger to me. Just that balled up fist. I really enjoy that. The production, the production is what it is. Fucking perplexing that Bob Rock, this was his last album. His first album was the Black Album. His last album was Saint Anger. What the fuck happened? Load and Reload didn't sound anything like this, but it was intentional. And, credit to Lars with that drum sound. He stands by it. He stands by it to this day, and I can't help but respect that. This album, it was still a success commercially, funny enough. It sold, I think it has 6 million copies sold or something like that. Still debuted at number 1 on the billboards. From Black Album to Hardwired to Self-Destruct, every album they released in that time span always went to number 1, which is just crazy. Even this album, this Saint Anger, the title track, won a fucking Grammy. It won a fucking Grammy. So I don't know. It's polarizing is not even the word to describe this album. I'm looking at the reviews now. 65 out of 100, 3 out of 5 stars, 4 out of 5, 2 out of 5. Someone gave it a B+. Somebody gave it a 9 out of 10. It might have been me. And then we got Pitchfork, our old pal Pitchfork, with a 0.8 out of 10. That is brutal. That's fucking brutal. And hey, can you really blame them? But can you really blame Metallica? They were going through a lot. The band almost broke up. It's honestly kind of a mini miracle in itself that the band continued in the heights that it went to after this record, because this should have killed them outright. But that's how good their previous material was. Trust me, we'll get to that. But it's also a statement on how loyal their fans are. And they have good reason to be loyal, because this band, for better or worse, will always release something that you can relate to, and they're not bullshitting you. What they put out is how they felt. This is how they felt at the time. It's just how it is. It was a very ugly situation. If you have ever been in a band where everybody's struggling, everybody's pissed off at each other, watch this documentary that comes with this album. Again, Metallica, Some Kind of Monster. Watch that documentary. I promise you will find a new perspective. A lot of people say it's just a bunch of prima donnas bitching about stuff. I think it's a crock of shit. If you've never been in that situation as an artist, you don't know. You just don't know. And it's a very complicated thing to navigate through those different emotions and egos. So much so they actually had to hire a therapist. I think his name is Phil Tobin or something like that. It got pretty bad. He ended up thinking that he was part of the band. That's not a hero there. This is a kind of a funny footnote. Just watch the documentary. I promise. It's worth the time, if nothing else, out of curiosity. But Saint Anger, it's always going to hold a special place in my heart, because there is not a single album by this band or any other band that can actually have a mental effect like this one does, to where it can actually calm me down to where I'm ready to just piss on the world and just set it on fire. I listen to these songs, and all of a sudden, things aren't so bad. I mentioned before, it's not a fix-all, it's not a magic pill, it's not going to fix everything in your life, but it may open up some new perspectives that you can kind of look through and find a better understanding, and definitely find a better outlet for your anger. If you're feeling pissed off, if you feel like you just need to say a few more words to that person that you're fighting with, hold those thoughts in, put on some headphones, and listen to this album when you are fucking angry. That's the trick. That's what helps me out. I can appreciate this song because I can appreciate this album because it's been with me for so long. But if you're trying to get into this record, I promise you, when you are so fucking mad, you can't stand it, put this on. It just might help you the way it helped me. And that's why it's number 3 on the top 10 albums. And yeah, that was Saint Anger. What would it place on your list? Would you place it higher? Would you place it lower? Or would you take that bitch off entirely? Continuing with our penultimate pick, we have Master of Puppets, released in 1986. Your top tracks are going to be Battery, Master of Puppets, and Disposable Heroes. Today, we are dealing with one of the most influential albums to ever be released, not just for metal music, but for music entirely. I would not blame you if this album was number one on your list. It was number one for me for the longest time. Over recent years, though, I had to bump it down to number two, but that does not diminish the talent that's on display in this record. Let's go ahead and talk about that talent today. My name is TJ Stevens, and this is Master of Puppets. Kicking things off with the beautiful opener that is Battery. There's a lot of things that can be said about Battery. It's probably their best opener for any album. It's probably their hardest song, especially as a band. To be in sync with this track is mind-blowingly difficult, and that goes double for the drums. This whole album is going to give you a workout. Even if the songs aren't incredibly fast, Lars is still performing with just a huge amount of energy with this record, and a lot of that energy is on display, ironically, with Battery. The opening acoustic guitar harmonies that we hear that's accompanied by those heavy drums is one of the most beautiful pieces of music that I've ever heard, and how it transitions to the heavy assault that is being put on display for your ears is just nothing short of amazing. Battery, it kind of speaks for itself. You don't need to say much. Once somebody hears the word Battery and they know you're talking about Metallica, they're like, hell yeah. Everybody fucks with Battery. It had to be played. It had to be played at a lot of their shows. They've gotten older, and this song it's never gotten easier. They actually end up skipping the bridge a lot of the times when they play it live, and I hate it because it's such a beautiful bridge that goes into that incredible solo, one of Kirk's many iconic solos on this album. Kirk Hammett was just on another level. Every member of the band was on another level when recording Master of Puppets. But for Battery, my favorite part is whenever we get to the double bass, the continuous double bass. Double bass is prevalent throughout this album. Lars splices it in very meticulously, and I think he does a good job. But for Battery, once he lets loose and you get that one, I believe they call it a stabbing riff, whenever it goes, and Lars is going crazy with the double bass, one of the biggest highlights of this album that is just polluted with awesome highlights. So Battery, there's no other way to start this record. One of my favorite songs, top 10 easily Metallica songs ever, and I can't get enough for it. If you're looking for a workout with any instrument, singing, guitar, bass, especially drums, you want to check out Battery. It's going to give you a workout. Moving on from a top 10 Metallica song to a top 5 Metallica song, we have the title track, Master of Puppets. Now listen, I would like to give a huge shout out to Stranger Things and Eddie for putting this song back on the map. And I recently looked at a reaction video. I used to love reaction videos, especially back when the Drake and Kendrick beef happened. I know I'm going off on a tangent here, but when that happened, I was so big into reaction videos and how people dissect songs. I recently watched a dissection of Master of Puppets whenever it got big from Stranger Things, and seeing so many people really focus in on the lyrics of this song, I just love to see it. The lyrics of this song, probably James's best work when it comes to the pen. Master of Puppets, it can be about drugs. It usually is about drugs, but with James, it's really the feeling of being hopeless and just, not having any help. And the master is one of your crutches that you use to sustain your life. But for me, it's always going to be about drugs. The master is the drug and you are the puppet. One of the most beautiful things that I saw when people are reacting to this, I saw a comment that said, this song is broken up into like 4 parts. It's 8 minutes, right? So you get 2 minutes for each part. But one is the dealing with drugs and like trying to find it, that heavy first half. Then whenever it gets to the angelic bridge, beautiful is not even the right word. Once we get to that angelic middle part, that's either the high taking place or you coming down from the high. I like to think that that is the high, that euphoric feeling that you get from listening to that bridge right before the solo is just, it's like being on drugs. They always say that music is, people say music is my drug. That's the example right there, is that middle part of Master of Puppets. And then, of course, whenever it starts building up, whenever he says, all I hear or see is laughter, that to me is you coming down. Whenever that high is, you're getting too high, right? And now things are starting to get scary. That's whenever things start to fall apart. And then the last verse and whatnot, just basically the drug mocking you, being like, hey, I rule you too now. You are my property. Obey your master. And for him to really get these themes of being hopeless and translate to that, to words that people, a large group of people coming from different backgrounds, can easily identify with and understand, that's just mastery of your craft. Pardon the pun. Being a master of your craft. James it's just so ahead of his time. The fact that they all did this, right out of their 20s, 21, 2, 23, whatever, just blows my mind. Master of Puppets. I'm just talking about the lyrics. I barely even talked about like the instrumentation, but you know it. I think everybody knows at this point. Bam, 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 bam. A fucking demon to play on guitar when it comes to down picking. And not even just that, the solo. If one isn't my favorite guitar solo, Master of Puppets is definitely one of my favorites. It's probably the hardest. No, I'll take that back. We'll save that for a later time, but it's definitely difficult. And it's one of my favorite solos of all time and one of my favorite songs of all time. It's a perfect song for me. It's a perfect song. It's long, it's weird, time signature wise. I don't even want to get into it. Like, I'm not even going to try to explain it. I'll post a picture about like the time signatures and how it switches up. It's really fucking weird, but it works. It works so well that you can say that about Metallica a lot of times. They're weird, but it fucking works. And this song definitely works. So Master of Puppets, I can't say anything more that you probably don't know already. Just check it out if you haven't, or just give it a spin another time. It's worth the listen. It's Master of Puppets. Come the fuck on. So after that, we come to our third track, a big old fat motherfucker named The Thing That Should Not Be. Now listen, man, I did not care for this song a lot whenever I was growing up. I love that ominous as shit opening riff, that dun 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 dun. I always loved that riff. It was the rest of the song that I couldn't really resonate with, I guess. But as I got older, and especially realizing the I guess tribute to H.P. Lovecraft, a lot of these lyrics are taken from his work or inspired by his work, I found a new appreciation for this song. And one thing that kind of got amplified is just how fucking heavy this track is. This is a heavy ass song. It's the reason why Jason called it a big old fat motherfucker, because it is. It's fat, it's thick, it's everything that you want in a heavy ass song. The Thing That Should Not Be, man, I never gave it the time of day growing up. I feel bad about that now, but it would always be the one low spot, or one of the lone spots of this album. I wouldn't really pay too much attention to it, but nowadays it just fits right in. This record needs The Thing That Should Not Be. And it's just an awesome title. The Thing That Should Not. It reminds me of one of those old B movies, those science fiction B movies back in the 50s. They have like giant tarantulas, Creature of the Black Lagoon, all that stuff. The Thing That Should Not Be always reminds me of that. One of the lyrics that I think is taken directly from H.P. Lovecraft is stranger eons, even death may die. I always love that set of words. And they say that in South Park. Whenever you figure out Mysterion's true identity, there's like it's a whole thing. I'm going off topic, kind of. But they say it in there, and I'm always going to have those words embedded in my head. At some point, death has to die. When time becomes meaningless, that's when death will die. But yeah, Stranger Eons, Even Death May Die. For some reason, those just always stuck with me. And these lyrics are very ominous, very dark. And hey, what else would you expect from this album? A lot of themes are very dark when it comes to this record. A lot of themes of aggression and insanity. Oh, speaking of insanity, let's get to that right now. Track number 4, Welcome Home, parentheses, Sanitarium. A legendary track. And it's probably like the best example of Metallica really maturing as musicians and as songwriters. More importantly, as songwriters. Because the dynamics of this song it's great. It's perfect. Starts off slow, gets heavy, gets even more heavier. These are Metallica staples that we're talking about. And Welcome Home is definitely a Metallica staple. Having to do with, if you ever seen One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest with Jack Nicholson, it's basically what this song is about. It's about, a guy who's in the, an insane ward, and he feels like he doesn't belong here. And he's, trapped in with a bunch of other mentally sick people, but he feels like he's fine. What I always like to interpret as he thinks he's fine, like he just believes that he's normal, but he's not. His actions say something else, but he just doesn't acknowledge those actions, and that's why he's in that sanitarium. Just a beautiful song, not even just with the lyrics, but sonically it's beautiful. Whenever we get to that "Just Leave Me Alone" part, and it goes to that banat, and he says, "Dream of living on, needless getting reckless." Now, one of the best pieces of music ever. And it's funny because that riff always reminds me, I think it's Helena by the Misfits. They have very similar bridges whenever it comes to that part. Very similar, especially on the guitar, and some melody lines that seem to mirror each other. But just for the record, this song came out first. So no Mustaine situation here. I don't think they took anything from the Misfits. We'll just call that a happy coincidence. But Welcome Home Sanitarium, legendary song. I can't explain it more than I need to. Just listen to the damn thing. It's awesome. Bitch, we got Disposable Heroes. Man, oh man, let me tell you, my number one all-time, without a doubt, favorite Metallica song ever. I don't know why. It's been like that ever since I heard it back in the summer of 2009, and it just gotten better and better with each listen. It has everything you want. It has everything I want for a Metallica song. It has the length, right? We're just well over 8 minutes, right? We have bitchin' solos. We have amazing lyrics, amazing bridges, amazing composition, just awesomeness galore. I cannot get enough of this song. I really love that main rhythm riff, that the way that it fits in with everything. You got Cliff coming in on the bass, very subtly, but still kind of sexy at the same time. The lyrics, funny enough, right? The lyrics, you can read the lyrics, you can listen to the song, you'd be more than acceptable to believe that this song is about war. It's about a young man going into war. But ironically, this song was inspired by football. Yeah, James was watching a football game, and one of the announcers just called one of the old beaten up, broken down players, they're just a bunch of disposable heroes, cogs in the machine. Take them out, replace them with a new one. That's where he got the inspiration from. I was just mind blown when I figured out that information, because I was like, I was pretty damn sure this song was just about war, All Quiet on the Western Front, I believe the movie is called. That's what it always reminded me of. That's what those lyrics kind of mirrored in that situation. But no, it was more of a combination of football and war. And if you ever seen that George Carlin segment about how football and war are very similar, this song kind of takes on a whole new meaning. It can really go both ways, or it can just incorporate both. Maybe he was playing football and then went to the war. That happened before. Roger Staubach, Cowboys legend, Roger Staubach, Captain America. But yeah, those themes right there, whatever the case may be, whatever the song is like actually about, In this situation, it almost doesn't matter because you can totally interpret it as an anti-war song. That's how I've always interpreted it as, was just anti-war and just anti-establishment and all that stuff. But the song will fucking hammer you down. It will beat you senseless with every single back to the front that you hear. You feel like you're being ordered. You really feel like you're going to the back of the line and you're just waiting to die. You know, really listen to the lyrics of this song and it paints the picture for you. It really does. James is so incredible at doing that, and especially at so young of an age. He was just, his mind was so open, so forward thinking when it came to this stuff, not just for the lyrics, but also, you know, the actual riffs themselves. And then you got Lars joining in. I mean, just this, it's incredible work. It's just incredible work, and it's evidence of, you know, 4 master musicians just being incredible at their craft. And Disposable Heroes was always like the best example of everything great about Metallica. Loud bass, loud drums, loud everything, loud. Listen to the loud, I'm telling you. But yeah, Disposable Heroes, it's been my number one song, my number one Metallica song. Hold on, baby. It's been my number one Metallica song forever, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. Next, we have Leper Messiah. I like the theme of Leper Messiah. Apparently, James and Lars, they were watching some televangelist on TV, and they thought the whole thing was just such bullshit and so hokey. You know the ones that I'm talking about. And that's kind of how this song came to be. The entire song, pretty much, almost, is in 6/4. Very interesting time signature for the whole thing. So those are the parts that I like about Leper Messiah, but I can live without it. I can definitely live without it. I'm not going to go as far to say that it's skippable on this record. You definitely got to keep it in there, but I'm not enjoying it as much as I'm enjoying other heavy hitters that are on this album. Leper Messiah just never really did it for me. I can appreciate the workmanship. I can appreciate the sounds, but just overall, definitely not my favorite when it comes to this record. Next, we have our instrumental from Master of Puppets. We have Orion. Let's talk about one Clifford Lee Burton. Not just one of the best bass players of all time, but just one of the best musicians to ever grace a guitar. This song right here was his last masterpiece that he showcased to the world before his unfortunate passing later on in 1986. It's such a fucking tragedy, and it's so unfair. This album wasn't even a year old before he passed, and just to think about all the ideas that he still had that we never got to hear, it really makes you appreciate the ones that he was able to put on display. And Orion is nothing short of divine. This is one of the most beautiful, not just instrumentals, but one of the most beautiful songs you will ever hear. I remember going up to my mom and dad talking about bass, and I had a hard time hearing bass like in songs. I never got the point of it all. My ears just wasn't fine-tuned at that point. And they told me, if you want to listen to bass, listen to Orion. And man, I had no idea what I was in for. It's amazing the sounds that we do hear on this record that come from a bass. It's the way that Cliff was able to just manipulate these tones and manipulate these sounds to get what he wanted to get. It's just pretty evident of how fucking genius this guy was. You got to remember that Cliff was responsible for a lot of different arrangements when it came to the music, more so like with the notes than the actual structure. Lars kind of had that down, Lars and James, but Cliff, just how he would accent these songs, or just, whole other parts that he would put in there entirely. It's just amazing. It's just amazing. And on this song, and you're not going to hear a bass solo every day on every song, but this one has it, and it's awesome. It's just awesome. It feels like the entire song builds up to that point, and this entire song just feels like it builds, and then it kind of says. into that middle part. That middle part reminds me of Master of Puppets so much, but it's beautiful. I have to get a fucking thesaurus because I've been saying beautiful for this whole album, but it really is. There's an aggressive beauty to this album, but with Orion, it's just straight up beautiful. I can't say enough good things about this song. I can't say enough good things about Cliff Burton, the man. He was the man. He really was, and he was the backbone, the glue that kept Metallica. I'm not gonna say kept them together because they obviously stayed together, but he really was the driving force from whenever they formed up to his passing. He kind of made Metallica what Metallica was back in the day, and I think that a lot of people that fell in love with Metallica, they fell in love with Cliff at first because he's undeniable. He's undeniable, whether he's playing or, you know, whether you're watching him on stage, all that red hair just going absolutely fucking nuts. You cannot deny this man. You cannot deny his genius. You cannot deny Orion. It's just one of the greatest songs ever, and I love it. Rest in peace to Cliff Burton. And finally, we have our closer, Damage Inc., or Damage Incorporated, however you want to call it. It's a very fine ending to this album. I can't think of any other songs that would end this as correctly as Damage Inc. You put Damage Inc. anywhere else on this record, it really doesn't fit. It kind of had to be the closer. I used to jam the shit out of this song back in the day. I loved that intro. Again, we're talking about Cliff. Those are one of the accents I was talking about. Just that whole intro was him just fucking around with delays on the bass, different effects. This man was something else, man. He really was. Once the song actually kicks in, you get that bam, 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 ba-da-da, bam. Heavy as shit. One of the heaviest pieces of music you'll ever hear. It's very fast, very on brand with this album. It's right up there with Battery in terms of speed. As the whole, like the song as a whole, it's okay. It's all right. I enjoy it, but it's a case of just like what's coming before it, what's surrounding it. Is Damage Inc. gonna be top 15 favorite Metallica songs? Hey, for you, maybe. That's all right. For me, not so much. But it's a great closer. It's a great closer for Master of Puppets. A very fitting closer, and I think you can have fun with it either way. If it is the tail end of this album, or you just kind of found it one day and you want to give it a listen. Maybe you thought the title was cool. And whatever the case may be, I think you're gonna enjoy this song, but I don't think you're gonna fall in love with it. But as a closer, hey man, no better way to end the album. That is Master of Puppets. All right, and that was Master of Puppets coming in at 54 minutes, 52 seconds. I was actually kind of surprised that this album was under an hour. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it is their last album that's under an hour to this day. To this day, they don't have a single album that's under 60 minutes that didn't come after Master of Puppets. So, Master of Puppets, what can I say? Now, I've already said so much. One of the most influential albums, one of the most successful albums. The fact that they didn't even have singles or music videos to push out to support this album, and they still got all the support in the world that they ended up getting back in the early days, is really mind-blowing. It's almost kind of a miracle in itself, but it's more of a showcase of how good this music is and how revolutionary it was at the time. When you hear people say nobody was making stuff like that, you know, back in the mid-'80s, people really weren't. There was not a lot of people that was making this type of music at the level that they were making it. They were at the top of their game. Everybody involved, James Hetfield, Lars Ulrich, Kirk Hammett, and of course Cliff Burton, was just on another level. And they spent months. I think it was in Denmark. No, excuse me. It was in Denmark, in Copenhagen. Yes, they spent months in Copenhagen, sleeping on the floor, just trying to get this shit done, and it was more than worth it. You say Master of Puppets to anybody, you're gonna get some nods. You're gonna get some devil horns. There's no there's no negatives about this album that I can just think of off the top of my head. I would have to really nitpick. There's not even a lot of down moments. The only time that, you can really feel like a song is skippable is with Leper Messiah, but even then, it's still a good track. All of these songs are either good, great, or legendary. Legendary, especially for a couple of these tracks that they had to play. Every time that they were playing live, every time that they were on tour, they had to play Battery. They had to play Master of Puppets, all right? And then even with not playing Orion for as long as they did, whenever they finally started playing it, man, that sounded beautiful. The movie, Through the Never, has my favorite rendition of it. Whenever Lars comes in, it's really the bass that comes in first in the actual song, but in this rendition, Lars comes in with the drums. It's a little bit slower, but then Robert comes in with the bass, and good God. Good fuckity God. I love that part. It makes me, every time I hear that, it just makes me think like some galactic creature is standing over the world and is about to crush it in the palm of its hands. It's so daunting and on some levels terrifying whenever you think of that scale. That's kind of what Orion does for me. It just makes me put this album on a scale that's like no other. This album is just so huge in every which way imaginable, in sound and even visuals, the design, the album cover, one of the most iconic album covers of all time. A lot of people don't even recognize the fingers in the top left and right corner, the ones that are actually pulling the strings. There's always something to figure out with these album covers. And Master of Puppets, probably their best album cover. I don't think I'm breaking news there. And one of their best albums. If it's your number one album from Metallica, I have no argument there. Have no argument. I understand completely. It's just a fantastic record from a band that were doing amazing things and that were really coming into their own as musicians. It's not even up for debate. It's an amazing album. It's an amazing record. And I implore you, if you are going to listen to anything from Metallica, check out Master of Puppets. Whatever you do, check out Master of Puppets. I promise you will not regret it. So, where would Master of Puppets place on your list? Would you place it higher? Would you place it lower? Or would you take it off entirely? Howdy. In 2017, I was working at a call center job, and it was not going well. I was sitting in my car at lunch break, and I knew that this job was not going to last. So once I figured that out, I just took the rest of the day off, had a nice drive to myself. And on that drive, I listened to an album that I respected, of course. An album that I liked, even loved, but I was never in love with it. But during this drive, for some reason, something just clicked. And once the album concluded, I had an epiphany. I had just listened to the greatest record that Metallica has ever released. And that record is number 1 on our top 10 albums of Metallica, Ride the Lightning, released in 1984. Your top tracks are as follows: Trapped Under Ice, Creeping Death, and The Call of Cthulhu. Ride the Lightning takes our number 1 spot in the top 10 albums of Metallica. And like I said, I was never in love with this album, always loved it, but something was just missing. And then 2017 happened, and all of a sudden, I just fell in love with it. And with each subsequent listen thereafter, that love became enormous for this album. And very good reason why. Let's go ahead and talk about that today. My name is TJ Stevens, and this is Ride the Lightning. Let's go ahead and kick things off with Fight Fire with Fire. It's pretty evident right off the bat that Metallica has grown immensely with their sophomore release. The opening is a gorgeous acoustic piece that mirrors Battery, or should I say Battery mirrors Fight Fire, where we have these building harmonies that build up to, again, a heavy assault. Only the difference in this song as compared to Battery is this is done in a major key, which The vibes of that, it sounds very happy, and it's a little bit off-putting to go from Kill 'Em All, and then the first thing that you hear next from Metallica is happy acoustic chords. And already people were calling them sellouts just for using the acoustic guitar. They didn't care how it sounded, just for using that bitch in the first place. They were sellouts. So ever since '84, yeah, Metallica sold out. It's fucking awesome. But don't you worry, because that mood is not going to last very long. Whenever the song kicks in, it kicks the fuck in. It's one of those big ass, comical boots from cartoons. It kicks your ass. Fight Fire with Fire kicks your ass, and it sets the tone beautifully for what you can expect for the rest of the album, even with, the juxtaposition of that opening acoustic intro. This spells it out right here, what you should expect as far as like tempo goes, the sound they're going for, and the themes for this album, and a lot of the lyrics that are tied in with these songs. For example, Fight Fire with Fire is basically about the end of the world and the world's impending doom and whatnot, and doom is a very appropriate theme for this album. We'll get more into that, but Fight Fire with Fire, it's a blistering track, especially on the drums. Get used to me saying that. Lars is going pretty hardcore with this album, but Fight Fire with Fire, Battery is kind of like the upgraded version of Fight Fire. That's how I always thought of it, but it's still more than enough, holds its own in a fight, so to speak. It's just a bitch to play. But yeah, that's what we should expect from this band at this point. So yeah, Fight Fire with Fire, hell of a way to open the album. I can't think of a better track to do so. Coming up, we have Ride the Lightning, our title track. Now, this is where the themes of the album are highlighted for me. Ride the Lightning, you can basically interpret it as somebody on death row about to get the electric chair. It's more so just the fact that, you're stuck in a situation where you have nowhere to go. You don't even have a choice, but you know that the end is near, or the dreading result that you're trying to avoid is about to happen. And that's Ride the Lightning for you. On Rock Band 2, this was downloadable content, and it was one of the very few Metallica songs that was DLC, so I swapped this up pretty quickly. And let me tell you, no matter what instrument you're playing, this song seems to be quite a trip. Even the drums, which are not going insanely fast this time around, there's still some intricate parts that can trip you up. They tripped me up whenever I was trying to play it, whether it was on Rock Band or, an actual drum set. There were still some parts that I had to look out for. When it comes to guitar, just look out for the entire fucking song, because this is a pretty intense song. And I mentioned before about Kirk Hammett, it's one of his hardest solos. I think Ride the Lightning is his hardest solo. Even whenever I hear him play it live, sometimes they struggle with this. It can be a downright struggle to play this solo section, and for good reason. It's insanely difficult, and I know that's pretty evident because I tried playing this solo on Rock Band on the guitar, and I would always fail at it every time. If I didn't have star power saved up, yeah, I was dying. So I got first-hand experience, some type of pseudo experience there. But yeah, Ride the Lightning, it's a monster of a track. And we can also credit one Dave Mustaine for this song, as this was one of his creations. I didn't mention him nearly enough in my Kill 'Em All review, practically none, and his influence on that. So I want to give the floor to Dave Mustaine here, and his influence of the first two records, especially with Kill 'Em All. Maybe that's why I don't really dig Kill 'Em All as much as most people, because I don't dig Megadeth or Dave Mustaine's songwriting that much. I still fuck with them, still fuck with like Peace Cells, still fuck with Rust in Peace, of course. But just as a whole, just not my cup of tea. You know what I mean? But whenever it comes to Ride the Lightning, I think that there's a perfect mix of Dave Mustaine. Because whether personal feelings aside, Dave Mustaine was part of that Metallica sound that got them noticed in the first place. His influence cannot be ignored. And on Ride the Lightning, they were still using some of his material, which is fucked up, but it really helps accent this album's strengths. And that's why it becomes so apparent to me why this album is number one on the list. Perfect mixture of Dave Mustaine's work, Sucks that he doesn't get enough credit for it, but it is what it is. After that, For Whom the Bell Tolls. What can I say about For Whom the Bell Tolls? This is a must play for any concert they have. They have to play For Whom the Bell Tolls. There is not a single second of this song that is not memorable, that is not legendary. I mean, fuck. Every time that I think of this song, I'm always reminded of the live performance. A Day on the Green, you know which one I'm talking about. I don't even need to post a picture. You know which one I'm talking about. Cliff's bass intro of this song is just, it's beyond iconic. It's one of the first things that you learn to play, whether it's bass or guitar. It's just, or at least for me, it's one of the first things I started noodling with back whenever I was first learning. And that just complements well for whenever the track starts going. I always love whenever Cliff, he starts like, okay, it's hard to explain, but he starts the chugging intro before the actual guitars, like before it goes dun 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 dun. He's doing that, and he's kind of like jamming that with Lars, and then the guitars kick in. Fucking love that part. That guitar solo, even though Kirk is basically playing the same thing for like 16 bars, it always gave me struggles because you have to just be consistent with it. But it's a very nice exercise for, light solo work. Still sounds pretty good. The theme of the song is about war. It's about, kind of being in the midst of battle. And James does a pretty terrific job in putting that display in your mind. The words, "Hear the silence so loud," always sticks with me, especially live, because he adds a nice motherfucker right at the end of it. Just sounds incredible. So you take everything that I mentioned, you just keep on adding to it until you get to that amazing outro, and you got For Whom the Bell Tolls. If you have not heard this song before, please tell me to shut the fuck up, stop this video, and go listen to it. It's that important. Okay, probably not that important, but it's a damn good song, and I like it quite a bit. Another song that I like quite a bit, I actually love quite a bit, it's Fade to Black. Fade to Black, the lyrics of this track, if you don't already know, has to deal with the premise of suicide, and that resonates with me for more than a few reasons. But it's always nice to have a song and you hear that people share the same thoughts that you do whenever you're struggling. It's a very nice outlet. If writing those words down yourself don't work, I like to fall back to this song because those are words that you feel like you've written before or you've thought of before. This song is just, it's that impactful for me. It's that impactful for a lot of people. But that's not the only important quality of this song. It just happens to sound pretty damn excellent as well. Again, we have a acoustic guitar intro. It's in the key of B, I think. It's not really important, but basically James was stuck writing this intro and he needed a way to get from B to A. And he didn't know quite how to do that, so here comes Cliff Burton to show him, because Cliff is, classically trained in music theory, or at least, he knew a lot about it. And what you have in that intro after the acoustic guitar part, or, that first half, and then it goes into the verse riff, that little buildup right there, Cliff was responsible to get from, in this case, from point B to point A, funny enough. But yeah, he just another example of how important he was. Just the little things, a bridge may not be the longest thing in the world, but it can connect to pretty big pieces of land. You know what I mean? A tale of two sections whenever it comes to this song, for sure. You have that soft melodic first half, but then once we get the distortion going, man, it just takes on a new life of its own. It really does. And what was that excellent first half, it just becomes even more stellar. And even the guitar parts, those solo leads, just those little lines, they get stuck in your head. And anytime that a guitar lick gets stuck in my head and it feels like it's an actual voice, man, I love that feeling. I really do. What more can I say? It's Fade to Black. It kicks ass. Go listen to it. So another song that kicks ass, that kicks so much fucking ass, dude. Oh my god, it's Trapped Under Ice. Let's go ahead and get this out of the way. Metallica is the only band to play on every single continent in the world. Yeah, Antarctica too. They did not play Trapped Under Ice in Antarctica. Fuck this band. I hate them. Just kidding. Trapped Under Ice though, fucking love this song. Really, really like this song. This was one of the songs that during that little drive in 2017, this one really jumped up in my favorite Metallica songs. And you know what? It's not even like these guitar parts or these vocal lines are some of my favorite pieces of music from this band, but all together, all at once, man, it's just a nice composition. Really enjoy this one. It's fast as fuck. Lars is pretty much playing double bass the entire song. I know I've said that like 2 or 3 times already, but I actually mean it this time. I mean, geez, the only time he like really stops is for a couple of measures between verses and choruses, and the part in the middle, which just happens to be actually one of my favorite pieces of composition. Whenever you start introducing those gang vocals, when they start saying "Scream from my soul," "Fate mystified," hell, forevermore, good God, yes, inject that shit straight into my veins all day. But don't let that confuse you. The rest of the track kicks ass as well. Trapped Under Ice. It's a top track for a reason. What's not a top track with me, and what's really not a top track with the band itself, is our next song, Escape. Okay. The definite low point of the album, the worst song of the album, because this song was forced. It was forced. There are two different stories that I've heard. One was the label was pressuring them to make another song because the album wasn't long enough. But there's also a different story where they wanted to make a single. Like if the radios asked the band for a single, they had Escape ready and they would showcase that to them. Except this song wasn't released as a single, so what the fuck? Either way, the band hates it because it's not authentic. They were really forcing with it. Cliff Burton is actually on record, like on tape, saying that he hates Escape, which breaks my heart because I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all. That's what kind of made this album, funny enough, Escape was the difference maker. That's what made this album jump up to number one, because Escape being its only low point, I can accept that more than Leper Messiah. Like, I just get more enjoyment from Escape. Maybe that's a contrarian in me, I don't know, but yeah, Escape, it's, you know, whenever I do say it's the worst song, it's obviously, it doesn't sound bad. I don't think it sounds horrible. It's just not authentic, or not as authentic as you would like it to be, because you're still creating something, right? You're still making a piece of work, but the intentions were not the same as the rest of the songs, you know. But when it comes to the audio side of things, I dig it. I dig what they were throwing down, and the attempt of a catchy chorus. You know, it's not exactly going to be an earworm for the rest of the day, but you can appreciate the attempt. There's some innocence in that chorus, and that innocence can only be produced by a young songwriter. I remember those days. I miss them quite a bit, but damn, who knew Escape was going to tug at the heartstrings like that? But yeah, Escape. You're either going to like it or you're not. If you say it's skippable, it's fine, but I think it's the weird ass cherry on top of this grandiose sundae, and that's funny because I don't fucking like cherries. The song Cherry kicks ass though. All right, after Escape, we have Creeping Death. The last time that I asked my mom what her favorite Metallica song was, it was Creeping Death. So from here on forth, her favorite song is always going to be Creeping Death. I don't care if her taste in Metallica songs is changing. Fuck it. It's always going to be Creeping Death. So yeah, I always associate this song with her, which is funny whenever I'm thinking about the lyrical themes of this song and having to do with, what is it, the 12 plagues or something like that? I think I'm getting that confused with no, there was only 10 commandments. Hold on. Yes, the 10 plagues of Egypt. Blood in the Nile, raining frogs, locusts, all that good stuff. James, yeah, like I mentioned, he grew up religious, so this was very much forced on him. But he translates all that texture very well to an audience that, you know, it's not familiar with that world. He makes it more accessible to the listener. And it's not just the way he translates that text, but just, the song overall. And honestly, how many ways can you really translate die being shouted at the top of their lungs during that section? You know what part I'm talking about. Creeping Death. Yeah, I haven't even talked about how the song sounds. It's great. It's wonderful. It's one of my, not just because it's my mom's favorite song, but it's just that damn good. Great exercise if you want to practice down picking, because James is just the fucking master of down picking. This is a good way to get started. Play the Creeping Death, the verses, or just the whole intro. Basically, just play Creeping Death on guitar if you want to get good at down picking. You know what? Just do yourself a favor and learn the song on every instrument, because it really is that fun. Despite the gloom and doom nature of the track, of course, Creeping Death, one of the best Metallica songs of all time. I don't think I'm breaking news with that one. It's great live. It's great no matter how you slice it. Listen to it right now, twice. And finally, we come to our closer, The Call of Cthulhu. A monstrous 9-minute instrumental as your closer for the second ever album that you release. The balls of this band. Now, this is not my favorite instrumental from the band. To Live Is to Die still has that honor, but this is my favorite closer, just for the sheer audacity to end things like this. And it's a pretty appropriate use of the word epic. That's the best way to describe this song. It's epic, and for an instrumental, it tells a story. I don't know how to interpret how the band intended for it to come off as. I mean, it's the Call of Cthulhu. What the fuck else do you expect? But because it's an instrumental and you don't have vocals to rely on, everybody is going to paint this picture a lot different than they would a normal song, because it's less of a song and more of an experience. The best way that I can put it into words is just you're at sea and there's a big ass storm, big ass being, and it doesn't look too friendly. So I think that's one kind of common thing that we can all paint in that picture. There's got to be some type of big ass thing in the distance. If not that, just have it drizzle a little bit. There's got to be a little bit of rain, if nothing else. But yeah, this song always reminds me of rain, and it always reminds me of the album cover, the legendary album cover of that electric chair. It's not Ride the Lightning, funny enough, because whenever I think of the Call of Cthulhu, for some reason, I just think of blue. Listen carefully for Cliff Burton in the background. It's subtle, but he's actually doing some pretty wild bass parts with that wah pedal. Just complements the sound immensely. Another compliment to this track is Dave Mustaine's work. This is one of his other contributions to Ride the Lightning, and I thank him for that. I think the remnants of this became Hangar 18, but again, don't quote me on that. Either way, still appreciate the work that he was able to put forth when it came to this instrumental, because it had to work. It really had to work to be the closer, to justify that. And I would love to be a fly on the wall for those discussions back in 83, 84, whenever they were recording this album. Fun fact, they only spent 3 weeks recording this record, which just, blows my mind. 3 weeks, and it's the best work they ever put out. Are you serious? Just fucking nuts. Call of Cthulhu, like I mentioned, would love to see the discussions on how that came to be the closer and what they were kind of discussing. I guess that's all it can be, right? Either the closer or the opener. And imagine opening your second album with a 9-minute instrumental. Yeah, that would have been fun. I guess you could say its fate was sealed, and it had no choice but to end things. And you know what? For my money, it's the best closer Metallica has ever written on the best album that Metallica has ever written. And that was Ride the Lightning, coming in at a pretty breezy 47 minutes, 26 seconds. I've always said that 45 minutes is the perfect length for an album. I feel like you can get enough at what you need to say in 45 minutes. This album being at 47, hey, you're going to hear no complaint from me. And I believe that's a big factor of why this is number one for the top 10 albums of Metallica, because it just flows so seamlessly. There's not a skippable track, in my opinion. There's not a skippable track on this album. Every song demands your attention, requires you to comprehend the words and the composition on display here. It really grabs you, it takes you for a ride, kicks your ass, lights you up, right? And then it just drops you off at the end of Call of Cthulhu when Lars is hitting those loud ass floor toms that sound like timpani drums. If you know what I'm talking about, those big ass concert drums. It sounds like that. And once everything concludes and you hear that final note and you're just sitting there in silence, just like, yeah, you know what? This is the best album they've ever released. That's whenever I was just like, yeah, my favorite albums, Ride the Lightning. Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets really are interchangeable, in my opinion. They can both be number one and they can both be number two because it's equal for me. But some days I'm feeling Master of Puppets. Some years I'm feeling Ride the Lightning. That's how it's been for a while. Who knows? Maybe in 10 years I'm just like, what the fuck was I thinking? Master of Puppets all the way. But it's always going to be neck and neck with those two. They will be tied at the hip. And I wouldn't have it any other way. It's just that recently, Ride the Lightning, it's just been hitting. It's been hitting just a little bit differently than the rest. But yeah, we're done. I am Metallica'd out. I'm not going to lie to you. This is the most Metallica I've listened to in quite a while. So I'm gonna take a little Metallica break for just a little bit. Doesn't mean you have to though. So go ahead and give these albums a listen. Give Ride the Lightning especially a nice listen. It's gonna take care of you. It's not too long either, so it's a nice ride. It's a nice ride. Let me know where it would place on your list. Would you place it lower, or would you take it off entirely? As always, you let me know down below, and stay tuned.
Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire.